Wait till they start hit record. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm gonna be
You're
apologizing
run.
a lot
You're
during
run.
this
You're
meeting,
running.
but I'm gonna get it together.
Okay, we are
Casimir, you're
live. We're alive.
Live. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is a call to order for the Bridgeport Board of Education special meeting. The time is now 7:33 p.m. Um, I was Madam Secretary is having a little bit of trouble logging in. So I will take the
I'm on now.
yes. Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. Can you please take the roll call for us? Thank you.
All right. I'll start with you, Akeisha Casimir,
Here.
Joseph Sokolovic,
Present.
Rob Traber,
Here.
Albert Benahan.
present.
I have to cough. All right, Jennifer Perez is here. Willie Medina,
I'm here.
Andre Woodson,
Present.
Tahiba Bain, Christine Baptiste Perez. I think that's everybody.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We're just gonna dive right in to the agenda. If I haven't forgotten anything, did I forget anything before we go get down to business? I need some help. We're good?
I think we have everybody in.
Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, we're good. Okay. The first item on the agenda is this discussion and possible approval of lenses on literature 6 through 12 ELA curriculum. And Ms. Murchison, is this your area, I believe, for a presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm trying to share my screen.
And what page is this according to the documents? What page are we starting on?
No, Willie.
Madam Vice
Um,
Chair?
It's new.
Okay, it's new.
Danielle, can you let us know what page the board members should be looking at in their packets?
Miss Casimir, you're on mute.
Sorry. Uh, where are we looking? Are we following what you had emailed to us earlier, Ms. Murchison? Or
I
is it
sent
this
you.
for the packet that was for the last meeting? Which should we be referring to that? I just want to get clarity.
I'm not sure if Danielle sent you another packet or not, but I did send you some documents yesterday regarding lenses on
Right.
literature.
Yeah, that's what I'm speaking of. Something was sent at 8:47 a.m. from. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's wrong. Murchison.
I
Yeah.
didn't resend the documents, Miss Murchison, because you sent them to the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yesterday at 7:16 p.m. So what you sent
Okay.
us yesterday at 7:16 p.m. Are we supposed to be following one of those documents, the PDF files?
Yes, that's fine. You can follow along with that.
Do we lenses do we follow lenses intro flyer or Bridgeport High School ELA quote? Which one?
At the end, we'll be voting on the quote.
Gotcha.
Okay. So since last night or since we last met, I did learn that one of the sites in the district, one of the high schools in the district, They recently went through re-accreditation, and so part of that re-accreditation process, they had to submit a curriculum for review. That committee or the accreditation company looked at certain things when they reviewed that curriculum. However, you know that from the RISE core values that we're following this school year, the I stands for high quality instruction, and the E stands for equitable opportunities for all students. So when we look at curriculum, we're looking for very specific things, and those things are in the black. It talks about alignment to standards, alignment to the science of reading, explicit support for multilingual learners, whether or not the curriculum has curriculum pacing guides and curriculum maps, whether there are daily lessons ready to go for the teachers to implement in their classrooms, whether it is with regard to literature or reading instruction. We want to make sure that there's an anchor text, that the text is, or the instruction is being anchored in a specific piece of literature, that there are suggested novels, and those novels are leveled by students' reading level, that there's differentiation for various learners. And then when we're talking about the implementation of the curriculum, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for teachers to receive job embedded coaching, that there is the opportunity for the company or the curriculum writer to come out and do instructional rounds with us to help us determine what our next steps should be regarding the implementation of that curriculum. That professional development is provided by the company and or the writer of the curriculum. Student print materials, in addition to student digital materials, are available. That the resource has checks for understanding that are aligned to the rigor of the standard, and that there is a capstone project or summative assessment at the end of the units, and that the rigor is not subjective. There's one common language for how to define the rigor, and that common language aligns to the SAT test regarding high school ELA. And then that the curriculum writer or the company has provided guiding documents to support the implementation of the curriculum. All of those things are required when you're looking at whether or not the curriculum will support you with providing high quality instruction or equitable opportunities. So in the first column, this is the site-based curriculum. So this is an actual curriculum that one school in the district, it's not a district-wide curriculum, it's just a site curriculum. So one school in the district is utilizing this curriculum. And then Lenses on Literature is the curriculum that we're bringing before you today for your approval. So you can see that the green means that the curriculum contains those items, and the red means that there is an absence or a void of those items in the curriculum or the product. Now, when you're looking at this, I want you to realize that the red equates to time, and time equates to money. So the red is time that teachers will have to spend developing those items so that they can effectively provide high quality instruction to students. So red means time. That means that the writer or the program does not have that. And in order for the teachers to provide highly effective instruction, they are going to have to create those things. So you can see here, we would be asking teachers to take, if we were to take one campus's curriculum district-wide, we would have to look at aligning that to the science of reading. Science of reading is a mandate across the entire state of Connecticut. we are required to ensure that our reading or our literature curriculum is aligned to the science of reading. You can see that the curriculum that one campus is using is not aligned to the science of reading, and the one that's being brought to you today before vote is aligned to the science of reading. And then we all know that the L's in our district are our multilingual learners. They represent about a third of our population. And so we have to build in supports for those students. You can see that in the one that a campus is using, should we take it district wide, we're going to have to spend time building those supports for those multilingual learners because that product does not already contain those supports, whereas the Lenses on Literature does. Then when we talk about daily lessons, what a teacher is going to provide to their students on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Lenses on Literature already has the lesson cards that a teacher would follow. And it tells them that the first task that the teacher should do with their students is this. The next task that the teacher should do with their students is this. This is what you should be listening for. And these are some different ways that you can provide differentiation to your students. You can see that the internal site-based curriculum does not have that. Lenses on Literature does. As far as the anchor text is concerned, the site-based curriculum does have anchor text, but it is a list of texts. For each unit, you're going to get about 8 or 9 different texts that you can use with your students, and those texts are not labeled. So you do not know what the average lexile has to be in order for a student to read that text and understand that. So the teachers would have to label those texts in order to use them in their room. Whereas as far as Lenses on Literature is concerned, the lexile is provided to you. Again, we've already talked about the differentiation for our L students, our students who are struggling to read, and for all students. On the lesson cards from Lenses on Literature, it tells the teacher to do this, and doing this will support your multilingual learners. If you do this teacher move, it will support students who are struggling with reading. Job embedded coaching. The quote from Lenses on Literature that I emailed to you yesterday that you have for your access, a large 50% of that quote is for job embedded coaching. So there will be someone who comes out and is in the room with the teacher, planning with the teacher, and supporting the teacher with delivering high quality instruction to their students using that product. Our site-based curriculum would not do that. In order to do that, we would have to pull all of the teachers who wrote that curriculum out of their classrooms and deploy them to the different schools to provide that job embedded coaching, which would therefore interrupt or stop the instruction in literature on their current campus. Then instructional round capacity. When you are implementing a new product, it is important that someone come out and look at how you are implementing the product and then give you suggestions on how to improve your implementation of the particular product. The quote that you have before you for Lenses on Literature includes that. For the site-based curriculum, that is not included because, again, we would have to pull those teachers out of their classrooms and ask them to go walk the district with us to assess other teachers' implementation of that curriculum, which would in turn stop the instruction in their classrooms while they were out visiting classrooms with us. When we did the webinars where 40 teachers participated, 40 of the 93 teachers who teach ELA participated, the high school ELA. They indicated that they wanted access to digital and print materials. You can see that the site-based curriculum does not provide print materials for students. So again, each individual teacher would have to develop the print materials.
I'm sorry, can we make sure that our mics are muted? Thank you.
Each individual teacher would have to develop their own print materials to go with the site-based curriculum, whereas Lenses on Literature is giving us access to the digital and the student print materials. And then formative assessments align to the rigor. It's important to make sure that the instruction you provide is aligned to the rigor of the SAT assessment that students would be taking, because teachers would be developing their own print materials for their students to utilize. The rigor becomes subjective because every teacher is having to make their own student print materials to give to the students. So my definition of rigor and your definition of rigor are probably not going to be the same thing. And therefore, there could be an alignment issue. With Lenses on Literature, we don't have to worry about that alignment of rigor because that information is already being provided to us. And then the guiding documents to support implementation. Step by step with Lenses on Literature, they give you a plan, an implementation plan of how to roll this out across your district and how to monitor the implementation of this across your district. Of course, we would not get that with the site-based curriculum. There are no guiding documents that we will receive to support the implementation of this. But remember, a part of RISE, our core values, is that we're committed to providing high quality instruction and that we are committed to providing equitable opportunities for all of our students, for our multilingual learners, for our special education students, for our students who are struggling with reading. So it's important to make sure that when on day one, on the first day of school, and every day thereafter, and every class period, students are getting that high quality instruction and they're getting it in a way that they need it. Lenses on Literature allows us to do that on day one. With the site-based curriculum, we're going to have to spend additional time creating that. I think our data shows that our students are out of time. Our results show that we are out of time with our students. Monday is July 1st. It is imperative that we are ready for a strong start to the school year to give our students what they need on day one and every day after that. Anything other than that would be considered negligence on our part with regard to educating our students in Bridgeport. And that's all I have regarding the purchase.
Okay, before I go to board members that have questions for the IT department, it's really hard for me to yeah, thank you. Okay, so you took the presentation down. Thank you. I can see much better. All right. Board members, if you want to, I'm sorry.
Also, if you click on people, a list of people will be on the right-hand side, and you can see anybody with their hands raised.
Got it. Yes. Thank you. Okay, board members. Let's start with questions. Board members. Oh, by the way, before we start the questions, I apologize. I just want to recognize that the chair, Christine Baptiste Perez, has joined the call, and also board member Tahiba Bain has joined the call. Questions from board members, please. You can unmute yourself for the.
It looks like Miss Perez had her hand up first. She has a hand raised and a number 1 next to it.
I don't see. I don't see that. It's you mean secretary?
Yeah, I'm here.
And you got Mr. Traver. And you got Mr. Traver too.
Oh God.
And
Miss
then
I
Mr.
don't see
Traver
that
will
on
go
here.
after
Yeah, please help me out with that. Okay, so
You're
first
welcome.
was Miss Perez. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Miss Perez. Please go ahead.
Just so you know, if you do the what Sam said on the list, if you scroll down to attendees, that's where the hands you'll see the hands pop up.
That's view. That's view, right? Under view.
Under
people,
and then the list of names will come up.
Yeah. Oh, I see it.
Okay.
Oh, I see it now. I'm so sorry. Okay.
You're
Yes.
okay.
All right. Yes,
You're
Miss
okay.
Perez. Go ahead.
How do we ensure, like, or is there any way that we're ensuring that the material that is going to be created is culturally sensitive, and do we have a say in what exactly we'll be providing the students or the teachers as well?
With which one? The site-based curriculum or with the
lenses?
lenses on
With lenses.
The lenses on literature has already been vetted for that by Ed Reports and the world of academics. We use Ed Reports to drive what we put in front of students and give to teachers to provide high quality instruction. It looks at the cultural responsiveness. It looks for support for learners, but then it also looks at how teacher friendly it is. And so lenses into literature or on literature has already been rated to meet all of those requirements.
And then the current site-based one, we would have to kind of go in and see.
We would have to go in and look at each one of those texts, and we would have to remove the text that we did not want to put in front of students or that were not culturally responsive for students. When you go through the accreditation process or the reaccreditation process, they don't vet your curriculum. They're only looking to make sure you A, have one, and B, that it has a pacing guide, so it has a curriculum map. It tells you what order to teach things in. The next thing that they look for in the accreditation process is whether or not it's aligned to standards and whether or not you reference instructional strategies. So they don't actually vet the curriculum. They're just checking off that it meets 3 or 4 boxes. Ed Reports actually vets the curriculum. So that's the other thing to note, that the site-based curriculum has not been vetted. It has only been monitored for those 4 things that we just talked about, whether or not it's aligned to the standards, whether or not it has pacing guides and curriculum maps, and whether or not it provides instructional strategies, and whether or not a campus has a curriculum or not.
Mm-hmm. And if one more question, I guess, if we adopted the lenses, you know, they have everything for you that you've listed already. If a teacher sees like a piece of material that they want to like incorporate supplemental material, can they bring that in as well? Are there going to be freedoms for them to incorporate other pieces of literature as well?
Yes. So there will be, with any curriculum, you can always supplement the curriculum, but you shouldn't supplant it. So supplant means to take the place of. Mm-hmm. Supplement means to add to. You can always add to, but you should never do something else you were doing in place of using the district adopted curriculum. But you can always add supplemental pieces to it.
Thank you, Ms. Murchison.
You're welcome, Ms. Perez. I think board member Traber was next.
Yeah, I will get to Mr. Traber. I just want to recognize board member Andre Woodson is also on the call. Thank you. Mr. Traber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Woodson was here when we took attendance, just for the record.
I thought so. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. All right, thanks.
He made the attendance call. Dr. Murchison, as you know, I was going to ask about this one, but without your chart up there and without having received your chart, this is a little hard to ask questions.
No, that's okay. Stop, Mr. Traber. Ms.
No,
Murchison, can you
so
put the? I was gonna have
the
chart put back up for you.
I want to go back to my question. Even without it, not having seen the chart till 5 or 10 minutes ago, it's a little hard to go through questions now. And without detailed explanation of it, and we're not going to. I think my point is more. What we're looking at is the unfortunate circumstance of making a decision at this last minute. And one of the points that was made 2 nights ago was trying to make such a decision of such monumental status, consequence at the last week of the fiscal year. And so I sort of want to point out that, accusations of negligence are sort of a double-edged sword, and we shouldn't be doing that. To wait till the last week of the fiscal year to make a decision of this importance and magnitude is certainly also negligent. And to make it with the input of 8 teachers is also negligent. So I don't want to hear these kind of discussion. Let's try and have a constructive discussion as best we can under these terrible circumstances. We had a $2 to $3 million proposal on the table 2 nights ago. It's been pared down to $500,000 tonight, or a little over $500,000 tonight. This suggestion of using the in-house curriculum was to save us $500,000 because in a year we're going to have a $50+ million deficit perhaps, and we might not have any of this on our table. And so by using the in-house curriculum, we might have been able to continue with what we're using for a year and see where we're at in reality with regard to money. And that's all the reality that we may be looking at. Now, what strikes me by your presentation, without being able to go through it in any fine detail with such short notice, is that a lot of what you were talking about on that table that we just looked at is called teaching. And teachers do that every day when they develop their lesson plans and look at the materials they want to use for those lesson plans. And what we saw in the analysis that was sent to us Tuesday afternoon was that the materials in this program that you've selected don't allow for a lot of teaching and are more scripted and telling teachers to follow that script. And teachers actually do enjoy doing teaching. And that's what they train for, and that's what they want to do. And so there are teachers that don't agree with the way you've just laid out this presentation. And so I just think that, it needs to be, it's unfortunate that we're not having a fuller and more robust discussion of what it means to be a teacher in teaching ELA and looking at materials and finding materials that are culturally relevant. There was commentary in what we were shown on Tuesday that point out the multi-language learner material in this program is lacking. We were given a video from the program that didn't show a real lot of options in the scroll down button in the digital version in this program. So while it says it does this, it wasn't really much in the way of options for the multi-language learners. In fact, it was pointed out to us that the scroll down options for the multi-language learners ended up being more words for the non-English speakers to have to read in English to try and understand what the program was asking them to do. So there are a lot of things to look at in this program that weren't adequately, in my opinion, vetted. But I am deeply concerned about that, and we're going to spend $500,000-$600,000 on a program for a year that may not be effective at all because we haven't had a chance to fully vet it. It gets all the checks as Science of Reading does, I know, but I'm not sure that I believe it. So I wanted to say that for the record, and I thank you for the time to speak tonight.
Thank you, board. Thank you, board member Traver. I would have to say that I respectfully disagree with what you said. While in the video, you may not have been able to see the multilingual supports. If you download the student print materials and you also download the sample of teacher print materials, then you will see exactly where it embeds the supports for multilingual learners, where it also tells the teachers what specific moves to use to better support their multilingual learners. And I believe that a part of the teaching process is planning. So even in giving teachers something like lenses on literature, where it does have the alignment to the rigor in it already, we don't each have to define what that rigor is going to look like in our own manner. Teachers still have to go through what's called an internalization process. So just like when you're preparing for a play or you're preparing to play a part in a movie, you have to memorize your lines and you have to think about where you're going to stand on stage and you have to think about how you're going to connect with the audience so that you can effectively deliver the script that the producer has given to you. Teachers also are going to have to think about how to internalize the lessons, how to bed in the Jennifer Murchison part of my teaching style into this lesson that's been given to me. And that's all a part of the planning process. I will tell you that we've done a lot of work with the Rusk, and we have several schools that are in school improvement. So we've also done a lot of work with the school improvement network with the state of Connecticut. And I will tell you that these are the products that they recommend, that districts who have schools who are in school improvement, they recommend that we use these products. They recommend that instead of having teachers plan lessons from scratch, that we have teachers move to an internalization process where they are given a lesson that already has recommended questions and moves and activities, and we take teachers through an internalization process. And because we are a district, by and large, a district in need of improvement, it is important that we begin to align our actions with the recommendation of the state school improvement network. So, and I recommend, I agree. You did just see the table with the yeses and the nos, or the greens and the reds. But remember that I have been hired to be the expert in the area of academics. And I would never lead Bridgeport, the students, the teachers, the parents, the community, the board, the superintendent, down a path that I did not believe was going to yield results. And if we had more time to make all of the adjustments that are needed to take centrals or the site-based curriculum district-wide, then maybe I would be making another recommendation. But our student state results say that we are out of time. Monday is July 1st. It would take a lot of time to turn this into something, to turn the site-based curriculum into something that teachers can use on day one and ensure that students, every single student in the district, is going to receive high quality instruction and equitable access to that instruction on day one. So we play about our names all the time. So I totally respect your position as a board member here in Bridgeport. But as the academic expert in Bridgeport, I am going to I'm going to respectfully disagree with your analysis of what is already in the district and lenses on literature.
And therein
Okay,
lies the
I'm
rub.
sorry,
No,
Mr. Traver. I want to get to the rest of the board members. I want to get the rest.
Therein
I will
lies the
let
rub,
you
Dr.
speak. I will let you
Murchison.
respond to her, but please, we have other people that have their hands up that
I
have
got
questions.
it.
I
And
just
therein
want to
lies
move
the
on.
rub.
Please, okay? Just
I
please.
thought you said you'd
Mrs.
let me
Sakalovic,
respond.
you were next, Mrs. Sakalovic. Please.
I thought you
Go
said
ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Kashmir. Yes, Dr. Murchison, all due respect of your expertise, and I do not question that expertise. And I don't disagree that we are in need of a curriculum, because we are, and definitely we cannot say we are the best district in the world. But what we can say is that everything this program is doing and is capable of doing, our teachers have the capacity to do as well. And yourself, as an expert in the field, have the capacity to assist them in turning all those red boxes green. Now, are we pressed for time now? Yes. Is it possible? Maybe, maybe not. But my problem with scripted curriculums is just that very wording, scripted curriculums. It brings me to mind of robots and production lines and assembly lines where you've got to do things exactly a certain way, and it's stifling of creativity. What works in one school may not work in another school with a different population. They may need to use a different text to teach those schools than the one that has been approved inside the. So if like you got like say we got Cesar Battaglia, and that's not on the script, and one of the I know we're probably not even into that. That's just an example. And they want to learn about Cesar Battaglia, and they could teach all the same skills that are in the scripted curriculum, but because it's not in the scripted curriculum, and the teacher may feel a certain kind of pressure not to use that book to teach those skills, the students in that school with the namesake will be basically disenfranchised from something that would help them learn better in their own particular circumstances. In this year, like I'm against the scripted curriculum, but I can understand it. I will be voting against it. But in the interim year that follows, because this is only going to be 1 year, I would strongly suggest that we build the capacity with our teachers and staff and yourself. And because, as you know, you get a lot more buy-in from people when they are part of the building process. And that's all I would like to say on this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakalovic. Next is our chair, Ms. Christine Baptiste Perez.
Thank you. First, I just want to start off with agreeing with what Mr. Sakalovic said in regards to the various lines. I agree with Ms. Murchison's assessment that it is negligent. Our failure to do this is pretty much increasing the school to prison pipeline if we don't have a curriculum for our students. The 2023 legislative session, lawmakers passed the Right to Read bill, which requires Connecticut school districts to shift a reading program aligned with the science of reading. This does that. Therefore, I am going to make a motion to approve the Lenses on Literature 6 to 12 ELA curriculum.
We have a motion to approve the curriculum. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Woodson.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's why you were raising your hand. Okay. Ms. Perez, can we take a roll call vote, please?
I'm sorry, the motion was just made. Point of order, we need to have discussion now. There's just questions.
Sorry
about that. We're not in discussion, Chair Casimir. We're in debate. And so this is where the make of the motion will have the opportunity to speak first. And then you would facilitate debate amongst the board members, with each member having 2 opportunities to speak. And I believe Chris is on to provide additional Robert's Rules guidance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The maker of the motion?
Which is me.
Yes. Did you want to speak more to this, Ms. Perez?
I had pretty much stated as to why I was making the motion. The fact that we don't have a uniform curriculum too also seems like there's an injustice to our students. If a student is in one school and they move to another school and district, they're going to be learning something that's out of alignment. With regards to any comments about other districts and fighting in terms of the right to read legislation, those districts are high performing districts where anywhere about 80% of their students are passing. We are in the polar opposite where about 88% of our students are failing. And therefore, it is our obligation to ensure that we are educating our students and we are in alignment with the laws passed in the state of Connecticut. And this curriculum would do so while making sure we're in compliance, while catering to all the negatives that were outlined in Ms. Murchison's visual. So I think any delay will cost another graduating class further developmental delays in terms of literacy. And we have an obligation to produce student outcomes in the positive and not in the negative. So therefore, I strongly urge that the board approve the curriculum since we don't have a uniform one. And given the failure statistics that were reported in our earlier board meeting in terms of student performance, we owe a duty to the students, the families, that we are preparing the next generation of Bridgeforth students to be the next generation of leaders. And by not doing so, we are failing to serve our number one constituent, which is the students and the future of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baptiste Perez. Mr. Medina. Mr. Medina, I see your hand is up. I'm giving you an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thank you. I just having troubles. I had to log off and log back on to be able to unmute and check the video out. Yeah, this is why I'm wondering, Mike, I know we're in debate. I'm definitely going to be against this at this moment, because this stuff should have been done, prior to this, putting us under the gun and putting the students under the gun, where we have been for the last, 6 months on these matters, knowing that that this is, I guess, has been on the table for a while. But I think, Mrs. M, I can't see the last name. It just says Jennifer M, so I apologize. I don't know everybody by their last name, so I do apologize. Miss Murchison, thank you, Miss Casimir. So again, I don't mean no disrespect. I'm just reading what I have. Now somebody wants to speak up. Go ahead.
Okay. I just
said Dr. Murchison.
Excuse me, Dr. Murchison. Yes, I definitely want to make sure that I'm getting everybody's titles right. Thank you. Sorry, Dr. Murchison.
The only title I have and that I carry proudly is Mrs. MRS.
I know that's right.
I worked hard for it. That's the only title I have.
I know
but Murchison or Murch will do just fine.
Dr. Birch. Okay. Dr. Murchison, my question is, can you explain a little bit more about differentiated for various learners? I'm sorry, for those of us who are not brilliant instructors in this district, I'm just trying to understand. But can you just explain, is there a simple way that you can break it down for me? The differentiated for various learners?
Yes. So the type in the stories or the short stories that the students will read. In the one that the site-based curriculum have, all of the words look the same. So it's all just a plain font. You know how in Microsoft Word, you can use italics where it'll kind of lean the letters. You can underline words or you can put words in bold print. The site-based curriculum does not do that. All the words on the page are going to look the same. In Lenses on Literature, when you look at the text, some of the words are bold print. So they're darker than the other words. So the reader will automatically zoom in to those words because they look different than all of the other words on the page. And then at the bottom of the page, they will either give the student a visual representation of what that word means, or they will give the student a definition straight from Webster's dictionary, or they will give the student a definition in student-friendly language. So then when the student goes back and they reread it, they now have a better understanding of what the text is saying because of the clarity that has been provided around the word. So that's just one example of a differentiation that's provided. There are multiple differentiations provided in lenses on literature. When we purchase it, it's already there. And I'm not saying, and I agree with Sokolovic, we really do need to look at increasing teacher, leader, everybody's capacity. And we're in the throes of planning the summer leadership conference and the summer teacher conference, where we will begin the work of increasing capacity in the district. So I'm not saying that the site-based curriculum cannot be differentiated in that way, but we would have to take the time, or we would have to ask teachers to take the time to go and read through all of those different texts and create those bolded words. And yes, like Medina said, with more time, we could do that, but we are out of time and we can't go through 25, 30, 35 pieces of text per grade level to build in those differentiated supports. Unfortunately, we are in a place where we need something yesterday that already has those supports there for our students.
Okay, thank you. And I want to go back to what Mr. Medina said. And maybe the superintendent would be the person that would be best to answer this. But why did we get this information now? Why wasn't this given to us a couple of months ago, a couple of meetings ago? Why are we under the gun with this new information now? I'm very, very interested in your answer to that. Dr. Levy-David, or anybody who wants to answer that.
Good evening, everybody. It is not an issue of being under the gun. It's an issue of making sure that we are making decisions based on data, based on the facts, and taking the appropriate time to do that. I am the 5th superintendent in the last 10 years, and there's been quite a bit of instability already for the troops, for the parents, and for our students. The last thing that we want to do is to enter into any agreement that is not going to serve bringing our students out of school improvement and into a completely new experience in education that will be rigorous, that will have cultural responsiveness, that will address our multilingual learners and also our exceptional learners. We are very well aware of what the data says about our students and about the capacity and dedication of our teachers. But we want to make sure that the work that is brought before them isn't done in haste. This is not the Fast and the Furious. We don't want to have multiple sequels. This is an educational institution, and our responsibility is to ensure that what is done for kids is what is needed and what is right for kids. And I have to, this is not to be interpreted as a put down, but we are the fourth lowest performing district in the state of Connecticut. We didn't get that way yesterday. We didn't become the 4th lowest performing yesterday, last year, over the last 6 months, over the past year. This has been a systemic neglect of instructional rigor, of differentiation, of support for teachers, of retention of quality teachers, failure to compensate teachers with a living wage, failure to have consistent leadership at the helm in the form of a superintendent and a cabinet and all of the staff that it requires to be able to analyze and assess instructional effectiveness. During the last set of layoffs, all of the layoffs that were considered were student impacting positions. So we are now in a process of rebuilding what a school district needs in order to be successful. We're in the process of hiring the best, most qualified, amazing individuals that I can find, identify, and convince to come to Bridgeport in order to get that work done, because I've committed to being here for 10 years. So I'm not going to jump and have the very first available curriculum to bring before this board. My job and what you hired me to do was to ensure that we were able to transform this district to meet the expectations of all of the citizens. More than 60% of our students are not from Bridgeport. Their parents are not from Bridgeport either. They're foreign born, they're from other states. People come here for a range of opportunities, but everyone has the same goals for their children, for them to be successful, for them to exceed what their parents were able to accomplish, and for them to be able to have a college education. I've been very, very, very busy, which is why our students who graduated in 2024 will have the opportunity to attend a four-year university for only $7,000 a year. That is unheard of. That hasn't happened anywhere in this country in the last 20 years. So we're very busy not only building effective instructional systems with the right individuals to lead that work, but partnering with our local institutions that are able to continue the process of success and prosperity for our students. So pardon me if it's June and you're just receiving this information now, but I wasn't going to bring something before the board in order to make it seem that we were very busy working. The job is to ensure that we're doing the right thing at the right moment. And sometimes that means that I'm going to bring information to you at a time that is at the end of the school year, at a time that is at the beginning of the school year. For me, the right time is always the right time to make the right decision for kids. That's the right time. So no one here is being accused of neglecting children. But what we are doing is that we're putting our foot firmly down and saying that we will not continue down the path of failure for students in Bridgeport Public Schools. We will not continue making the same mistakes of the past and considering student needs last. We're going to put them first this time. We've done a lot of work considering adult needs first for over the last 10 years in this district. It's time to put the students' needs first, and they need rigorous curriculum that addresses their needs. I hope that response is comprehensive and addresses your needs.
Most certainly. I want to give board members who have not raised their hand an opportunity. Just very quickly, Mr. Woodson, Ms. Perez, Ms. Bain, Mr. Benahan. Any thoughts before we go back to Mr. Traber's closing? Any one of you can speak up.
None here. I think the superintendent said it well.
Okay. Mr. Traber and then Mr. Sokolovic. Mr. Traber? You're on mute, Mr. Traber.
I had been actually disabled for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, completely disabled. I had wanted to, I misunderstood you, Madam Chair, and I apologize. When you said, I'll let you respond, I thought you meant at that time. And so I was asking for clarification whether you meant then or.
You can ask now, Mr. Traber. Go right ahead.
No,
absolutely.
So that's why I was speaking at the time, trying to
yes,
clarify
sir.
with you
yes, sir.
what you meant.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So now I would just respectfully say to Dr. Murchison that we do disagree about whether this is appropriate, because while I agree with you about the urgency and importance of the matter, to do it at the end of the year, it doesn't reflect that importance. And to do it as quickly and haphazardly as we seem to be doing it doesn't reflect that importance. And to take a $1 to $2 million program and cut it down to $500,000 doesn't reflect that importance. And to take it from 6 to 12 and make it 9 to 12 doesn't reflect that importance. It's not across the district. We do need to do it. We do need to find the resources to do all of it. I agree with you. And we do need to find the right one that works and does all that we want it to do. I would agree with that. And to do it right. And I like what Mr. Sokolovic said and agree with him and Ms. Baptiste Perez about that. And wish we could do it the right way. I don't know why, in answer to your question, Ms. Casimir, we're waiting till the end of the year to do this. It seems to me this would have been something we would have wanted to start months ago and include the teachers in the planning and discussion, because what appears to have happened is we did it at the end of the year and we only got 8 teachers to respond and look at the various ones that were being looked at according to the report that was presented to us 2 nights ago. And so I am deeply concerned about the, the vetting that we did do with the people that are going to be asked to do it, and whether it's going to be the best program for us as a district and the people that will be asked to use it and implement it. So those are my concerns, and I'll leave it at that. I think everybody else has spoken to the various other points that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sakalovic and then Mr. Medina.
Yes, I somewhat have to agree with Dr. Levy Davis, Superintendent, and somewhat also disagree. I mean, the time may be pressing and time may be right now to make an informed decision. What I do disagree is that I don't think we've actually got good data on this program. I've had a couple of people reach out to me and say the survey that they took only expressed this one program. I've taken several surveys, and based on the questions that I had to answer and the way I had to answer them, I wouldn't want to be making decisions on them. And the staff was wrapping up their whole year summer, and it was presented to them at the last minute. So it's really only a presentation of one choice whittled down basically by staff that was presented to the less other staff, and we're only seeing the one thing. In my experience on the board, when we were doing curriculum that wasn't online and all that, like textbooks approvals and stuff like that, we would get like the top 2 or 3 picks, and we would get to ask questions based on this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. And then some representatives of staff would come and say they liked it this one because of this one, and there would be like a couple of points spread between each of the score sheets on the bids. But it seems like we're moving very, very far away from having competition, and that does 2 things. It spoils innovation and it spoils competition and makes us pay more for products than we usually would when people know that they don't have to compete for our business. And we all just want what's best for the children, but I want to take this, no matter which way the vote turns, as a learning experience that we got to definitely do better at getting input, designing the surveys so we could actually get more than 8 responses and not have the questions tailored to what looks like a certain result, because I'm basically looking at the surveys that I've gotten as a parent as far as other issues, and it doesn't seem tailored to actually make a decision based upon them. And that's all I got right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakalovic. Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To your question, actually, Ms. Casimir, I don't know if the superintendent did answer it because I didn't get it from her her information she shared. Is that why is it now? I understand that we're in the gun right now, but this is over 9 months. I mean, she started in August and we're now making a decision, kind of like what I understand is, a shotgun decision. So I think this is, a neglect and, making a plan ahead. And I've learned, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I think it's very irresponsible for us to make a decision this hastily and quickly. Also, I have a question on where is the data? Why wasn't the data shared with us? You guys are throwing out data, but there's nothing data has been shared with us to prove. I have a question also as far as anybody can answer this. Is there a multilingual arm to this? I see a lot
Dr.
of shaking
Murchison,
heads
is
with
there
no
a
communication.
multilingual arm to that?
Yes, and the multilingual arm is tiered. So just like the Lost Links results come back for different levels, based on those levels, you can provide different tiers of support to the multilingual learners in the program. So for instance, all students might be reading, well, they would be reading the same text, but based on the level that you assign to students, moderate support, severe support, light support, it will adjust that text to meet the needs of the learner. So yes, sir, it actually has tiered multilingual supports in it.
Okay, thank you for the answer, because I didn't see it, and I don't know if whatever you sent, I don't believe it was sent to me, and I don't know who sent it. So I checked my emails. I didn't get any of this presentation sent to me whatsoever. So I just wanted to add that, because I know I would try to go. I was blocked from my emails. So right now I was, while I was listening, I was going through all my emails and checking information, and none of this presentation was sent to me whatsoever.
Yeah, Mr. Medina, your name is actually the first name that's on her email. You were the first person that she clicked on to send to everybody, so you definitely got it.
Great, according to you. But let me ask you a question, because you were there making comment. Who's the person that sent it? That way I can look under the name, love. I appreciate that.
Dr. Murchison herself sent it. I'm looking at the email right now.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll check, because I was blocked. I want to let you know that. I mean, I don't know if you heard my comment. I was blocked for close to 10 days from my emails, and I just got on yesterday around 10. But I went through my emails right now, and I didn't see anything. But I will check again and will correct myself. But I was just looking for her name and checked emails, and I didn't see this papers. But thank you.
All right.
Thank
yes.
you. I yield.
IT Mr. Medina has been blocked from emails for the last 10 days. So please, IT, put that on your list to see exactly why is that happening. We definitely want board members to have to be informed. Andre Woodson, you are next. I'm sorry, but Mr. Traber and Mr. Sokolovic, you've already spoken twice. I'm keeping tabs on everybody. Mr. Woodson.
In debate, I spoke once.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Sokolovic. I've been paying attention, and you definitely spoke twice.
Don't start until after the motion is made.
All right, so Mr. Woodson, can we go to you, please?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Casimir. I want to thank Ms. Dr. Murchison and Dr. Levy David for their presentations. They, I did hear the part when she spoke about the bilingual arm of the in her presentation. I don't understand why people, they don't like to listen. They want to read, but they don't want to listen while Ms. Murchison is speaking. You shouldn't be reading while she's speaking. A lot of times that's what the teacher told me. If you sit there and you listen while people are talking, you'll get your questions answered. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. Okay, Dr. Levy David, I see that your hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just think that we need to move forward and approve what needs to be approved for kids. There are people on this board who are going to vote no matter what. I mean, I could have Andrew Carnegie himself stand here and say that he gave philanthropy for the next 1,000 years so that our kids could have materials, and there would still be members on this board who would vote no. Every single thing that I've brought before you, you've voted no. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be, I could say the University of Bridgeport has just agreed to give our students an education
Dr. Levy David has the
4 years for $7,000 every year. Would you vote to approve our students going to the University of Bridgeport? And I know that there are
please there's one person at a time.
So it doesn't matter what I bring for them or how it's I mean, I've been here since August. I was supposed to have been here in June when I was hired, sir, not in August. It doesn't take 2 months to sign a contract. So please, let's not even revisit history, because you weren't on the board then.
So
but I will tell you that it's time for us to stop playing games, stop acting like we're the most important people. The most important people are the kids, and vote to ensure the students have what they need.
We should stop
Mr. Sokolovic, please. Nobody interrupted you, Mr. Sokolovic.
Just because you want to play games. Stop playing games with kids' lives. Vote for the things that students need. It's about the students. It is not about any individual here except the students. And that's what gets lost in every single one of these meetings. And it's exhausting. We spent an hour and a half talking about something that shouldn't even take 5 minutes to discuss. appropriate literacy materials that are research-based for our students. Get the job done that you were voted to do.
Thank you, Dr. Levy David. Mr. Benahan, I'm trying to pick the board members who have not spoken. I think it's only right that board members who have already spoken not take up time from the board members who have not spoken. Okay, let's just give everybody a shot. Mr. Sokolovic, please.
Yeah, I'm just
Mr. Okay, Mrs. Sokolovic. Can Mr. Benahan speak now though? Because he has his hand up and he hasn't spoken at all.
Absolutely. Just remember.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sokolovic. Mr. Benahan, please.
Thank you very much, Ms. Casimir. And I'm not gonna let the random interrupt me because I interrupt no one when they speak, and I respect everybody's decision and comment. This is ridiculous, and I'm gonna say this very clear for the record. This is why I get upset. That's why I get mad, because people watching, we never get to the end, to the solution. I know we are for the kids, but this back and forth, and who say, she say, who vote or who don't vote, this is the reason we're not going nowhere. And this is, I have to understand, Dr. Camilla Levin-David, with all your respect. You have 9 more members that have you work and you communicate with them. The same thing when we had 9, not only 5, not 4, you know, and we all know what's going on with the board. Not only us, everyone outside, they see us, what's going on. This division, we're not going nowhere. You know, who say, she say, name, titles, other stuff like that. Let's stop this and let's keep forward what we have to do. You know, this made me sick so badly, I'm telling you. I love everyone. I like to work with everyone, but this back and forth have to stop. If we are not going to stop, don't say why Bridgeport people talk crap. Don't say why the reason we don't have no solution of this. But the only thing I can say is we have 9 board members. They are Dr. Camilla David Bus, not 5 and not 4. I want to clear that for the record. Thank you, Ms. Casimir.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Dr. Levy David, did you have more to say? Dr. Levy David, did you have more to say, or did you just leave your hand up? No, okay. All right.
I left my hand up. I've said all I have to say.
Okay. All right. Mr. Sokolovic has already done. Okay. Is it time to make a motion? No, we already made the motion. Roll call vote.
But people have only spoke one time so far.
No, that's not true. That's not true. The people who have spoke twice is Mr. Sokolovic, Mr. Benahan, and Mr. Traber, and Mr. Medina. So if you guys want to mute their mics, that's fine with me. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth because I've been counting. I've been sitting here and counting how many people have spoken. All right. So anyway, to go after everybody has spoken, nobody to Miss Bain hasn't spoken, Miss Perez hasn't spoken. Last chance. Mr. Woodson, you only spoke once. You have one more. Christine, the chair has one more. Anybody else besides those that have already spoken twice? Anybody? I just want to move this meeting along. If you're not going to vote for it, you're not going to vote. If you are, you are. But let's just move the meeting along, please. I'm begging everybody. So
I don't have anything to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members besides the ones that I've already called or that have already spoken? Last chance. Okay. So, Madam Secretary, I believe now is the time for us to take a roll call vote. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Secretary, roll call vote on the agenda item for lenses on literature 6 through 12 ELA curriculum, please.
Tahiba Bain.
I vote for.
Albert Benahan.
I'm going to pass it for now.
Christine Baptiste Perez.
Yes.
Akeisha Casimir.
Yes.
Willie Medina.
I abstain.
Okay. Perez goes yes. Mr. Sokolovic.
I'm going to exercise my right to explain my vote. I am voting no because the superintendent has provided us with very little data on this issue. And the surveys, I doubt the surveys because they were not done very well. And for the record, a disagreement with the superintendent is not a personal attack. She needs to behave more like Dr. Murchison, who can disagree with.
Mr. Medina.
Oh,
Mr. Traber, sorry. Mr. Traber, you're on mute still.
Thank you. I want to vote and I want to explain my vote, and I've heard the chair herself do this, so I don't want to be cut off like you just cut Mr. Sokolovic off. You can stop. I'm abstaining, and I would agree with Mr. Sokolovic that we don't need to have the long attacks. When a point of order is called, the chair immediately stopped Tuesday night, and listened to points of order when they were from people that she wanted to listen to, when they were from.
Point of
your
order,
vote.
Mr.
So he
Traber,
said abstain, right? So yeah, Madam Secretary.
I didn't get his vote. I didn't get his vote. Traber.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We did not get his vote. He was muted again.
We are being cut off by somebody. I was cut off for 10 minutes, my camera and my mic during this meeting, and we're being cut off now. Enough of that.
What's your vote?
I abstained. Who just spoke that didn't get called out of order?
Okay, Mr. Traber abstains. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Woodson.
Yes.
Mr. Benahan.
For the record, we are not a little kid to treat us like a little kid. Let's have some respect. And I'm abstaining.
We have 3 abstentions, 1 no, and 5 yeses. It carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We will go on to the next agenda item. Discussion and possible approval of continuation of contractor services agreement with RIASAP for the delivery of restorative practices services as a subcontractor on Barnum School state-funded improvement grants. Just to let remind the board members, each school, I guess, has to be voted on. So we got Barnum, we got BMA, we've got Dunbar. Yeah, the next 3 votes is going to be 3 different schools. So who is going to do the RIASAP presentation? Dr. Levy David.
Ms. Clark.
Yes.
Ms. Clark. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nadira Clark, Director of Grants Development and Management. I am coming back to you again. This is the continuation subcontract. We are in our 3rd year of the SIG awards to these particular schools. They have used RIASAP in one way or another. Their subcontracts have been varying, which is why I'm indicating that these are ongoing. Barnum's assistant principal is on the line, and I believe the principal from BMA is on the line. We unfortunately do not have a representation of Dunbar this afternoon. We do have a representative from RIASAP. Their executive director, Mark Donnell, is also here. If we will be able to give a chance for them to present what has happened, I will give you the high level, and I'm just giving you as a bulk, and I appreciate Ms. Casimir explaining that these will be individual votes because we do have individual contracts. However, it's for the same work. We have contracted with RIASAP. It was written into the SIG grants that they would provide information and support around restorative practice services and responding to the climate part of their school improvement grant. And if I can go ahead and have probably Ms. Ska'n, since she is on first, and that's the first on there, just to tell us what has happened over the last year for their program with RIASAP.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Christine Ska'n. I'm the assistant principal at Barnum School. I don't have a formal presentation, but I just want to state that we've contracted with RIASAP the last couple of years through our SIG grant, and we've seen a significant improvement in our student culture, particularly in our middle school. The RIASAP person that we have, Miss Drea, works tightly with our middle school students, pushes into classrooms, and does restorative circles or does student mediation when students are having an issue with each other. She also does wraparound services. She worked as part of our basketball program, worked through after school work with our students. She even found one of our students a place to stay when his home was displaced and they couldn't find a place at a shelter. So she's really, truly a part of Barnum community and is really impactful for our students. But I'm open to any questions or any specifics if anybody has any for me.
Oh, sorry about that. Ms. Bain, you have your hand up. Any questions, Ms. Bain?
No, that was an accident. I apologize.
Okay. All right. Board members, please hit the button, that the hand raised button. Mr. Traber?
Yes, first off, as I did Tuesday night, Ms. Clark, for the sake of the people that weren't with us Tuesday night, could you introduce yourself to the public? You're muted, Ms. Clark.
Sorry, I introduced myself initially. I will do that again. It's Nadira Clark, Director of Grants Development and Management for the district.
Thank you. And secondly, I would like to congratulate Ms. Caston on that article in the Post earlier this week about the student that you moved while you were over at Blacken with us.
Thank you very much. That's very touching.
Thank you. That's it.
Any other board members, any questions about this? The renewal. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Perez, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a question.
Okay. Mr. Traber, your hand is still up. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Sokolovic.
Yes, we got 3 schools. Is there any opportunities to chase any extra grants to get additional grants for the program since they seem to be effective?
1000%, and Mr. Donald is on the meeting as well. We've been talking about additional, collaborations. RISAP has been working now. Catalyst, excuse me, has been working tremendously in the district. There's always chances for collaborations. These were specifically under the school improvement grants, and like I said, they were written in because there is a specific climate portion in there. So that's what we're asking for permission for today. But always, we are a very hardworking grants team looking for collaborations and coordination and new grants, consisting grants as much as possible.
Awesome, and I thank all the grant writers for all their hard work.
Thank you so very much on behalf of the team. I will say thank you.
Grant writing is super hard. Yeah. Mr. Donald, would you mind giving us just an overview of who RISAP is for the community and for the parents that just don't have a clue as to what you guys do? Can you just give us an overview of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Mark Donald. I am the president and CEO, and we are now known as Catalyst CT, formerly known as RISAP. And, we do a lot of things. I think what is mostly germane to this conversation around direct service with young people is we work on the social emotional learning and restorative practices side, specifically with Bridgeport Public Schools prior to the pandemic. It was led by BCAC, the Bridgeport Child Advocacy Coalition, around training, but in partnership, of course, with Bridgeport Public Schools, teachers, administrators, school security guards, SROs, cafeteria workers, anybody and everybody that we could in restorative practices. And those who have been around the district for a while know that graduation rates were going up and suspensions and expulsions were going down. Since the pandemic, we've added this component, which is why we're here, which is restorative practice staff in the schools. In Barnum School, we actually have a social worker. In Bridgeport Military Academy, we have a restorative practice facilitator. In Dunbar, we have a restorative practice facilitator who actually is also a certified teacher. And also in addition to what Ms. Clark said about seeking grants, Catalyst CT, we provide about $500,000 to $750,000 in additional support, specifically to Bridgeport Public Schools. We also are involved in violence prevention outside, but we certainly work with school staff, the police department, residents of public housing, anything we can to help young people who might be showing a tendency to go into gun violence or who already are, to get them out of the life. And then we also run the Juvenile Review Board, which is a diversionary program, which is young people 9 to 17. So we work in partnership a lot with the district, but that's not funded through the district. That's funded from the state. And we have some other programs as well, but I think, to keep it brief and germane to what we're talking about here with Bridgeport Public Schools, that's the majority of our work. And just as an FYI, I'm a former principal and teacher as well. So the educational work is really near and dear to my heart.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Donald. I don't believe that we need a roll call vote for this. I mean, I'm going to assume that we don't, but I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the continuation of contractor services agreement with RISAP for the delivery of restorative practices services as a subcontractor on Barnum School state-funded school improvement grant.
Second.
I second.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Who was the first person that seconded?
Mr.
Mr. Benahan? Mr.
No.
Benahan. That's fine. We'll
Mr.
give it to
Traver
you.
beat Mr. Benahan.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what?
That's all right.
Scratch that off.
I'm
Scratch
teasing.
that off.
It's
Put
fine.
Mr. Traver's name in place of Mr. Bennett. That's fine. The next item on
Dude, for the point
You gotta
of
vote
order.
first, Ms. Casimir.
No, wait. Let's straighten this out right now. We just had a presentation. We asked questions. We made a motion. So technically,
now it's
nobody
debate
has
now.
debated this motion
Okay.
2 times, but I have nothing to say. I just want to make that clear for the things I would like to debate.
I'm gonna keep needing your help, Mrs. Hovick. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So
I
if anybody
appreciate it.
if anybody got discussion and debate, now's the time to do it. But I don't think on this particular item.
No, I agree. I don't think so either. All right. Was that a yay? Yes.
You asked whether there's any discussion or debate.
Is there any discussion or debate?
No, thank you.
No. Yes.
We don't need that. We don't need that. Let's keep forward. We don't need that, please.
Yes. Okay. I agree, Mr. Benahan. All right. And the
Hearing
vote
none.
carries, right?
All in favor.
Said aye.
Hearing-
All in favor.
Hearing none, we vote. Now we have to vote.
Hearing
no
none. All in
discussion.
favor.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any extensions? Okay. Next item on the
Motion
agenda, same thing, the RISAP for BMA. Can I entertain? Do we have to do the same thing all over?
I move.
Okay.
I move
I second.
to the
Perez.
I move the motion first. Let me make the motion.
Okay.
I'll move on the approval of the continuation of contractor service agreement with RISAP for the delivery of restorative practice services as a subcontractor of Bridgeport Military Academy School state-funded school improvement grant.
I second, Mr. Benahan.
I second. No. Okay.
Mr. Benahan second. Ms. Perez made the motion. Mr. Benahan seconded. Thank you.
No debate. But
No debate.
Mr. Lip's hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Commander Lip. Thank you.
That's Commander Lip.
Correct.
Commander Lip.
Thanks, guys. No, I just thank you for the opportunity. I'd love to be able to just say how pleased I am with RISAP, but we didn't have that at Fairchild Wheeler. Came over to BMA. It'd been 20 hours a week the year before, and went up to 40 hours with this SIG grant. Integrated into the school from counselor to social worker to security to me to the secretaries. Help reduce the number of incidents, out of school suspensions, and other issues and problems. And it was also a market improvement with attendance where we were 34, and we dropped down to less than 27% chronic absenteeism. So I just wanted to make sure that I was able to present that to the board. Thank you for allowing me to.
Thank you, Commander Lip, and thank you for the tour of BMA, and thank you for your candidness. When we sat down together, you were straightforward, looked in my eye, and told me exactly what your concerns are and how you plan to address them. Very detailed, and I just want to say thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. I'm a data guy, and I look and see what's broken and what's not working, and look at ways to do it. And RISAP is working. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Any debate or questions? Is that what's next? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Benahan. Yes.
Yeah, it's a comment. Thank you, Commander, for everything you do for BMA. It's an honor to have you there and try to have our school very proud and being on top. We appreciate everything you do.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Benahan.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Any more debate or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, RIASAP.
Move to approve the continuation of contractor service agreement with RIASAP for the delivery of restorative practice services as a subcontract on Dunbar School, state-funded school improvement grants grant.
Second, Mr. Benahan.
I second that.
I second it.
Mr. Benahan is hot like fire tonight. Mr. Benahan seconded that motion. Any debate, any discussion on this? Hearing none. All in
Wait,
favor?
I do want to say something.
Oh,
I do want to
yes,
say
Ms.
something.
Bain. Yes.
It's just a comment that I know what RIASAP's work, and I'm glad that they're in the school and they're going to remain in the school because I believe in them, and I know that they are evidence-based practices are proven to work for our students. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Bain. I agree 100%. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
I just
Oh my God, who
saying
is
that for that.
Ms. Bain, your mic is still on.
I'm sorry.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Okay. Discussion number 5, discussion and possible approval of CES agreement for consultation and facilitation services regarding the Bridgeport facility condition assessment and master plan update for Bridgeport Public Schools. So this falls in line with the policy of school consolidation, school closings, whatever you want to call it. But who, I'm sorry, Dr. Levy David, who will be speaking to this?
Mr. Garcia will be speaking to this.
Mr. Garcia, you are up. Ms. Perez, you have your hand up. I don't know if you
I'll wait.
leave that up. Oh, okay. Mr. Garcia, we're ready for
Good
you.
evening, everyone. So this evening, we're in front of you looking for approval to go into contract with CES. This is for the facilities, a comprehensive facilities assessment. This is great timing for this. We've already embarked on the demographic capacity and redistricting study. This is that second phase that is much needed. That's going to really be the wrapping around that facilities master plan that we've been looking to do for some time. There's a lot of different components that will help us to start to figure out direction, where we are, how we move forward, how we make our investments as diligently as possible. With this assessment, we're going to get into every single building, really do a deep dive with engineers, looking at our systems, looking at our structures, looking at every aspect of our facilities. As you know, we've made tremendous investment through ESSER, through capital fundings that the city has granted us, along with grants. And right now, our team is really delving deep into the Renew America grant. It's going to take up a lot of our bandwidth. So having a third party to come in and sort of validate what we've done, where we are, and how we can sort of shape the district for the future is very important. And the timing couldn't be better for us. Any questions? The contract is $351,000. $250,000 of that the city is paying for. We are going to fund the $101,500 through ESSER. I think it's a tremendous investment. To date, both studies will hit around $550,000, roughly $450,000 that has been paid by the city. So, any questions?
All right. I see Ms. Perez's hand went up first. Then we'll go to Mr. Traber and Mr. Medina right after. Ms. Perez.
Well, that's why I waited to ask a question, because Mr. Garcia answered it just now. I wanted to know what the city's share was. That was my question.
Just so we're clear, Mr. Garcia, this is going to cost $350,000, but the city is paying $200,000 or $250,000 of that.
$250,000.
Okay, and so
They
the
paid
district
for the whole first study, and they've committed $250,000 to this study.
and the district will end up paying $100,000. And you said that money was coming from where?
ESSER. So it's $101,500 coming from ESSER.
Oh, just so the community and the parents understand. Next is going to be Mr. Traber has number one. Okay, Mr. Traber.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint Ms. Casimir. I actually was number two. Ms. Perez was first.
I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me. Ms. Perez.
Went.
Yeah, she already finished. Okay,
yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So, Mr. Traber wasn't first. My first question was the same as Ms. Perez's, which was the amounts, which Mr. Garcia did answer, because I couldn't hear at the meeting a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, what the amounts were and how, and you just clarified it all. The $200,000 from the last meeting, the first contract with CES, was completely paid for by the city. $200,000 of this contract is paid for. $250,000 of this contract is paid for the city. So the difference, $101,000, is being paid for by us with ESSER money.
Yes,
that's what we just clarified. So that was first question, as with Ms. Perez, for me too. The next question I wanted to raise is, Madam Chair, when you opened, and I hear it at the last meeting up at Fairchild Wheeler, I raised it, and I still see it on our website. We referenced, Mr. Garcia did not, and I appreciated that, Mr. Garcia. We don't have a school closing plan. The whole point of the facilities review and the whole point of the demographic study is to see what we should be doing with our facilities. Yet still on our website, and when the parent goes to it, at the top of our website is a plan to close 6 schools in our city. And I have had people contact me and say, I don't understand. Are we still closing these 6 schools? And the superintendent has talked publicly about still closing 6 schools. And people don't understand, are we doing a legitimate objective study to decide what we're going to do? And we're all going to meet and talk about it and have community meetings and all of that? Or are we really going full speed ahead with closing 6 schools? And so we really need to change the narrative here to the public, because the public is confused and are contacting us and asking, what are we doing? And I thought in good faith, we're moving forward with a complete objective study to decide what's the best thing to do with our schools, our buildings, and our city as the demographics change. And as we get a chance to finally do something we should have done a long time ago, and that none of us on the board are responsible for, because it hasn't been done since any of us got on the board, which is a full facilities review, which thank God we're going to be able to do and do well, hopefully. And so that's what we're looking forward to doing. So I just want to make that point in my comments here, that we really need to stop talking about closing schools, because people think that's the plan that was put out that we backed off of and said we're going to do this right. So I would hope we change that. And then, having said that, Mr. Garcia, at the end of this packet that we got is a timetable. In this timetable, I assume, since we're now already at the end of June, we're looking at moving this back a month, because this timetable starts, if I read it right, at I guess what is the second week in June. I get a little confused about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for June and July, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not sure what those numbers mean across the top, but it seems to be the 4 weeks in June, 4 weeks in July. But I don't know why they number 1 through 8, and then they sort of keep going up numbers. So I assume it's weeks until the end of the year.
Yeah, so we're going to make that adjustment. We're just going to slide over a bit. With that said, we're going to try to double down whenever we can to take advantage of the summer months and do as many of these studies as we can. Obviously, And some of our larger facilities with more equipment, we're going to want to shut down equipment, fire up equipment, sort of get a sense on cadence of things. So, you know, my team is prepared to split up in two if we need to do things in parallel to make sure that we maintain a crisp schedule and be able to do things on off season. So there will be some variation to that. And once we sort of get approval, we get to sit down and put things together, we will submit another schedule to everyone, so everyone's on the same page of exactly what's going on during the study.
Okay, but and then specifically, Mr. Garcia, the first on-site client interaction is the beginning of August on this schedule. Who's involved in the on-site client interaction?
That will more than likely be folks from the building itself, principals, so they're getting an understanding granularly of what's going on in the day-to-day. So our first interactions will be looking at our mechanical systems, our infrastructure, things of that nature. And then we're going to want to follow back up and so to have that discussion on how things are operating in the real world on a day-to-day basis with folks.
Okay. And then submission, review and approvals. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, and then a couple at the end. Is that like sort of a regular report?
Yes, so there'll be regular reporting that'll happen at the cabinet level, at the board level, and also, you know, I'm a big community person when it comes to making sure that we're including the community to make sure that they're stakeholders in this. So there's several touch points throughout, and once we get into contract, we'll be getting a document out to everyone that explicitly states exactly what those will look like.
Okay.
We're still in the development phase. There was only so much we could do before we got into contract. So
Okay,
things are
that's what I was asking, is that just sort of putting some meat on some of those bones in the color-coded boxes there. And then there is one that I just didn't understand, which is the light purple at the beginning of November, facility closed internally to be determined.
Well, that's when we start to sort of draft the scheduling of what needs to be reconstructed, what's end of life. That's sort of coming together and starting to have those initial conversations on the ranking of things.
So are we going to close the building at the beginning of November?
No. These are discussions on priority in terms of you know, what we need to do. A portion of this obviously is I am very passionate about restarting the school construction program. What falls into that category? What falls into end of life? What falls into maintenance needed? What falls into preventative maintenance needed? So there's different categories in that realm of it. And once again, you'll receive a document that sort of fleshes all of those things out as we start to develop these plans a little tighter.
Okay, thank you.
Next, I believe, is Mr. Medina and then Ms. Perez. Mr. Medina?
Yes, thank you. As far as this, what we're voting on, I just want to be a little bit more clear. I know about the 250. I understand it. So this contract that we have in front of us from CES, it still states a 351,500. Have we received the funds from the city already into our accounts for the 250, or how is that being handled?
That is out of my sphere. If someone else can jump on and answer the fiscal question.
I'm happy to do that. So the city actually will be paying the invoice that will be coming along for this, and we will pay the other portion of it. So they are not transferring money traditionally, but the invoice will be split and paid accordingly.
So there's going to be two invoices, one 250 towards the city. So this does not reflect in the documents that we have in front of us. And
correct.
So two concerns I have. One is that because I see the only signature that's left on this document is Carmela Levy. So I wanted to make sure that before anything is signed, that we know what is our share and not a document that says that we're paying $351,500. So that's why I wanted to just make sure of that. My second question is, I know the funds are coming out of ESSER. So after this, how much money do we have left over in ESSER?
We will be working on a projection, meaning the grants department, as we're looking at all of these different adjustments that we'll be making. I do not have a final number to give to you tonight, but if you would like us to work on our projection, which will be done probably sometime next week, we'll be able to share that through the superintendent's group.
Would you be able to share that with the whole board? And I'm talking about the 9-people board, that information?
Any information that's requested will be shared with the superintendent to share out to the board as she sees fit.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are making that request, and I think we would look forward to getting that. That way we know where we stand together as, with our finances. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Ms. Perez.
I move on the approval of the Cooperative Education Services Agreement for consultation and facilitation services regarding the Bridgeport Facility Condition Assessment and Master Plan Update for Bridgeport Public Schools.
Second.
Don't move, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Ms. Baptiste Perez, second. Ms. Perez brought the motion to the table. Ms. Baptiste Perez seconded the motion. Now we're still on debate and discussion, right? Okay, Mr. Sokolovic.
Yeah, to make it a motion, Ms. Perez has the first opportunity to speak if she wishes to.
I don't have any comment.
No, she does. Yeah, that's why I jumped to you.
Okay,
Go ahead, Mr. Sokolovic.
And the seconder does as well, has a second chance, and then it'll go on to
the person who seconded. Do you have any other discussion on this matter? Mr. Sokolovic.
Thank you. I just wanted to raise things like that when we're not tense.
No, that's fine, Mr. Sokolovic. Go ahead. I understand. I understand. Go ahead.
So thank you. Yeah. Yeah. As Mr. Garcia knows, we've been through this before, and I've supported this facilities master plan study to in the past, even being paid for operating costs, because it's definitely a wise investment. And Mr. Garcia, feel free to interject anytime I make an incorrect statement on what this is intending to do. I support this because it's intending to make the best use of our available facilities to project into the future our district needs, which we may not be aware of. We may, in fact, after this study is done, find out that, in fact, we may need to open a new school in an area where we're projecting to close a new school and add a new, depending on the demographic projections, we may need to open 2 more schools or close 2 more schools. So nothing is really set in stone until we see the results of this study and have a thorough vetting of all this data. Okay, so I haven't been stopped yet, so I believe I'm on the right track. And it would not be wise for us to make any decisions as far as dispositions of schools or property before we get the whole picture. And especially since in the city of Bridgeport, it's very hard to find land to build schools. And once we give up land for educational purposes and return it to the city, and if we need something again, it's going to be that much harder to find. Okay, so I haven't been stopped, so I believe everything I've said has been accurate. Thank you very much.
So far, so good.
Thank you, sir. and I'm gonna support this with those. And a question. As far as participant and the constituents' inputs and board inputs and things like that, and designing now, at what point is that going to take place?
We're fleshing that out. Once again, we'll be getting a schedule and a cadence of all of those things. Obviously, it's very important that we get all stakeholders' perspective on what's going on in the district and the impacts of all of those things. As you all know, I've been chasing this facilities master plan for some time now. I think more than ever with the monumental investments that we've been able to make over the last few years through ESSER, the fact that the city has committed 25% of their capital allocations in the upcoming year, and the fact that we have an unprecedented amount of dollars in capital that we've been able to work with the grants department to obtain in facilities, this is the time for us to draw a line in the sand, make sure we're benchmarking where we're at, because every single decision that we make moving forward is going to be critical to the district. With the budget outlook, we are still in the driver's seat to be able to do what we need to do for these facilities and for the residents, the students, the teachers, and everyone in the city of Bridgeport.
Right, absolutely. And as we're getting the stakeholder data, I would like to suggest that we all see the survey questions before they go out and basically agree on some of the questions and parameters, so we could all have buy-in that this is just a properly designed survey. Because like I said, I haven't been too happy with their surveys I've received as a parent, and because I would just like the board to have input on the survey so we can make a decision that we all buy into, whether it's closing 10 schools, opening 4 schools, whatever this decisions may fall.
And the goal here is to lean on the best practices in the industry, to make sure that, we're getting the most out of this study. From our perspective, we want to be able to build our outlook for capital requests moving forward, so the council has 100% confidence in what we're bringing in front, what we're putting in front of them moving forward. I think the city has made unprecedented commitment to the facilities component of education. So we want to be good stewards to that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Benahan.
Thank you. Mr. Cummins, I just want to say, Mr. Garcia, thank you for everything you do. And, I'm very glad from the day you're in the district, you follow the protocol policy and you do the best you can to be sure our school be updated and, everything correctly. You and your staff, they are amazing. I'm very proud of all of you. I'm telling you, I don't see nobody else. They do the job you do. So thank you for everything. I really appreciate you and your team. Thank you.
We appreciate that. And the team deserves all the credit because they're amazing.
They're amazing. They're number one. Thank you for that. Thank you.
They most certainly are. Any board members that have not had a tour with Mr. Garcia at our facilities over on Connecticut Avenue, please hit Mr. Garcia's assistant, Miss Penny. Please email her and ask her for a date and time, and Mr. Garcia will be more than happy to do a tour. Mr. Traber is next. Mr. Traber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I simply wanted to echo those remarks. I think Mr. Garcia has been fighting diligently for this project, and I'm glad to see it come to fruition. It's much needed and long overdue. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you all.
I will entertain. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this point.
Motion.
Motion's on the. Oh, I thought it was on.
It's already on the floor and seconded.
Yeah, it's already.
Oh, great. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you all. I get to go on to my vacation in peace. I've been chasing this whale for some time.
You deserve it, Mr. Garcia.
Have a great vacation,
Happy
Mr. Garcia.
vacation.
God bless you.
Okay, so the next item agenda is the next item on the agenda is number 6, discussion and possible approval of returning a portion of property outside of the fence of Ska'n School back to the city of Bridgeport. Dr. Levy David, who is presenting, is that you again, Mr. Garcia, or no?
Hey, got 2 in a row tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said goodbye. I thought you were.
No, I was saying thank you.
Okay,
So,
Mr. Garcia, please go right ahead.
So the city is looking to retain less than a half an acre of the 8+ acres over at Ska'n School. The need is the Jewish Community Center has some struggles with parking on site. Staff has had to start parking on the roadway of Park Avenue. As everyone knows, Park Avenue at that juncture is very hazardous in terms of the speed. So there is a portion of our parcel that is outside of the rear fence line. If you pull into Ska'n and you pull all the way to the back parking lot, the back piece of that property, about 15 feet into the woods, and then a 20-foot drop, they're looking to retain that 4.3 or 0.43 acres to give that to the Jewish Community Center so they can establish a new parking lot for staff. I've done a review with my team. We've walked the site. There is no impact, 0 impact to the school, 0 impact to the visual aspect of things. And we recommend us returning that portion back to the city, because there is no impact to the educational program over at Ska'n. As we all know, Ska'n will be moving over to Winthrop once we rebuild that school. We are in the construction phase at this point. We have our architect. We're going to RFP now for our construction managers. The project is well in hand and moving forward. So I think in good faith with everything that the city has been doing for us on in terms of bonding and other things, this is a no impact to us request. Any questions?
All right, the first hand that I see up is Mr. Sakalovic.
Yes, Mr. Garcia. I think you may have misspoke. The city's not looking to give it to the Jewish community. We're looking to lease it to the Jewish community.
Yes, they're gonna create a lease because they want to be able to retain that for future sale when we turn Ska'n back over to the city once the Winthrop Ska'n building is completed.
And the document you sent us says it actually has, it kind of seems like doublespeak, that we don't have rights to it, but they want us to give up the rights to the property. And they want us to just give up the rights, and the city is going to be reaping 200, 300, I don't know how much, I don't know the lease cost, but whatever. It's 0.41 acres that's going to be used for parking. It's going to take away green space, numerous trees, increase the hardscape, and possible water runoff for the neighborhood. So it's when we speak good faith of the city for giving us mere pennies on the dollar of what we really need, that's not really a good faith, because they gave us $500,000. We give up rights to a parcel that we don't have to without any remuneration at all for our children. We're basically taking from children, public school children, and leasing it to a private interest for their convenience. Honestly, as a representative of the city of Bridgeport, taxpayer, the children, I can't concern myself with the parking problems of a private entity, no matter how well connected they may be. And I think my question to you was very pointed when I discussed, should we be disposing of any property before we have that facility master plan? How do we know we're not going to have to build a new school on the Ska'n site? And 0.41 acres is it's not tiny, it's not big, but it could be possibly integrated for parking for Ska'n with a staircase going up or something. We can't project that yet because we're in the middle of a costly study that's going to tell us what we actually need in the district. So I think it's unfeasible to give away that property, especially seeing this is a bad precedent, because we are not finished with the educational uses of this property, which is when we normally give something back. And with potential school closures coming down the pike, it's even more concerning because it has the appearance of a land grab from the children to the city and without any benefit to our children monetarily. So that's all I got for the questions right now.
Mr. Garcia, would you like to respond, or should I go to Mr. Traber for the next question?
I think I might have answered our position in terms of that question and comment.
Okay, Mr. Traber.
Can we lease it, Mr. Garcia?
I don't know. I mean, the city actually owns the property, and they give us the property in good faith to, have our function of education. So I don't think we have the ability to lease the property.
Don't we effectively lease to Lighthouse?
We lease programming. I believe it's the language is kind of tricky. It's programming that we're providing Lighthouse. So when we lease to different programs, we're leasing the ability for them to create programming within the buildings.
Yeah, I wonder about that, because I think there are legitimate questions about the loss of trees, the loss of space, the flooding in the north end, and Lord knows, because it, got pushed into my neighborhood when the north end refused to take the community college from Fairfield. We ended up with it on the Mill Hill. It is the north end, and it's not a given that if we give up the land, it goes automatically and smoothly into being given over to be done. So all the issues that Mr. Sokolovic raised are all reasons that the north end will be fighting it. And you know what that's like. We've all seen it for years in that area.
So we did do a thorough review of the engineering plans by Pereira. They have a water runoff plan. They have to. There's a certain amount of trees they have to replant on site. They've met all of those thresholds. We feel comfortable because that was a question for us also. If we're going to do something, we want to make sure if we're stamping it and we're recommending something that we're comfortable. So I spent quite a bit of time with Mike Zirkle and myself and the team, so reviewing those plans and making sure that there was stormwater runoff, plans, and that they had to meet the thresholds of replanting. So I think that they're doing their piece in terms of trying to ensure that through their engineering and their civil engineering, they're handling those issues.
Right, but that hasn't always moved the residents of the north end when something was proposed to be done in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that's my point, is reason doesn't always move them. So that's the problem that I'm worried about, and I'm not sure. Now, next area of move is how many acres is Blackham on?
Blackham?
Yeah.
Do me for a loop there. I don't know off the top of my head.
Ballpark?
I want to say we're probably at 6, 7 with the ball field, maybe 8.
Okay, and the ball field is ours?
The ball field is the city's, but we can use it during the day. So we have rights during the school day.
I'm familiar with that rule. Okay, so and you said that the Ska'n school is 8 acres?
It's 8+ acres.
Okay, and do we have a plan for how we're going to redo Blackham when we get there?
I've got some ideas.
You have some ideas.
I've got some ideas, but facilities master plan and everything's going to help with that.
I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying that it occurred to me as you're talking that Blackham, and you and I have joked about this over the years.
Yep.
At some point, it's going to need to be done, and at some point, gets sooner every year. And that's a prime piece of land in the north end that Blackham may need to be done. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that prime piece of land might be needed for a purpose like that. So
the problem was, I'm sorry.
It just strikes. No, it's just all right. I was beginning to wonder, so I recognize. It just strikes me as it is a bit premature to be giving up any part of land in the north end that might be needed for such a big school.
The issue with Ska'n is that we have septic at Ska'n. There's a tremendous amount of ledge. So in order for us to tie into city utility, that is a monumental task, very costly. And that's sort of the reason why we have never even tried to approach it. Just because it's very, very difficult. As you know, in the north end, you have to blast and you have to do things that you just can't do anymore in order to get to the utility.
But the issue with Blackham is it's on a swamp.
Yes, you have the river running under the whole entire neighborhood over by Blackham.
Right.
But I think that with Blackham, there's opportunity on that site. You have a big site. I could see an urban edge to the building and sort of creating fields and some other things. I'm hopeful for Blackham and what we could do there.
Yeah. So I'm just as you think about what we need to do, the point of doing the facilities review and the planning and the beginning to think about the strategic plan for our facilities, it just doesn't seem to me it makes sense to give up any land until we finish this study, is where I think I'm going. So
okay, thank you, Mr. Traber. Dr. Levy David.
Good evening again. there is currently no plan to use any additional space at Ska'n for educational purposes. The city has been a great partner. They are the owner of that site and that facility. We don't have the resources to make upgrades to that facility. And the city has invested, millions into the revitalization of Winthrop with the inclusion of Ska'n. We also have a duty to be good neighbors. And I need to correct the mention of the Jewish Center. It's actually called Mosaic because there are people there who are not of the Jewish faith. There are all sorts of interfaith people who live and use that facility. I've been there myself and spent quite a bit of time on site during the Christmas holidays visiting with the residents there. And I think that we have to be good neighbors. Parking is a tremendous challenge there. And it's a tremendous challenge for those individuals wishing to visit their parents, grandparents who are at that facility. And Ska'n stands directly behind it. The portion of the land that is being requested is on a slope. It is not land that we would be utilizing for any educational purpose. And I struggle with the concept of giving up something that we don't own. We don't own it. The city owns it. It's their property. We're allowed to use it and maintain it. And the minute we vacate it, it reverts back to the city. We don't get to retain it unless we specifically enter into some type of agreement to do so. I don't see any reason why we would oppose supporting a home for the elderly. I think for a long time we neglect our elders in many different cities in this country. And I think it's time for us to step up and be the example that we're not going to neglect the elderly in Bridgeport. And we're going to make sure that they have access to parking for their relatives, their families, and their loved ones. And certainly for our students who visit that elderly care center every single year. We want to make sure that we can accommodate the buses and transportation that go to that site every year. So I would encourage the board to strongly consider allowing the city to lease that piece of land for this purpose. I think it is an absolute act in good faith to support having great parking facilities for the elderly in this city. Many of us will probably end up being there at some point. Thank you. Good night.
And thank you, Dr. Levy David. Mr. Medina, you are next.
Thank you very much. George, how long has the Mosaic Senior Center been there?
Well, they've been there for some time. I mean, I don't know how long. I know that the JCC has had that property forever. They've started expanding out and providing more service, which is creating the need for the additional space.
Well, exactly. It just goes to know, again, my point of view, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This need didn't just arise overnight. They've had this building in that area for many, many years. And as you know, the board needs to think about, if we're going to need land and that land is there, let's finish with our process first before we make a haste decision to be good neighbors in a sense. And I understand that whole notion, but being good neighbors might be a disservice to our students and to building another school if we need to do that. And making this decision right now, I think it's be very irresponsible and very negligent in our part. In hindsight of, we don't know what's ahead. No one can tell if we're going to use this land, 6 months from now or even a year from now. This problem has not been ours. This problem didn't just arise overnight. So they build according to their need. And if they didn't know they needed more parking at the time of when they built that new building and everything they have, that's not ours to say. And I would hate to think that we're going to vote on it yes because we want to be good neighbors on the side of making sure that we are being responsible, that, hey, if we give it back to the city, then we'll give it back to the city. That's at that point. We shouldn't be making a decision right now as a board thinking about what's best interest for our kids. Now, once we vacate it, then that's fine. That's our responsibility. Right now, we have our number one responsibility is to do what's right for our kids. And I don't think we should vote on this and say yes right now, knowing that we don't know what's happening with this master plan and we need to make, make some decisions. So I would think that everyone should be thinking about that before we decide to vote yes. You know, I'm all for being a good neighbor. I've always been a good neighbor in everything that I've done, but it's at the point of when we have not in need of it. If I need something and once we don't need it, then we give it back to the city. Then they can decide to do that later. And to lease it just for a temporary time period, we need to be mindful that, you know, we might need this property. Please think about it before you vote yes, because we might need this property and then we're not going to have enough space, you know, and then this is got to go through zoning and got to go all this stuff. And we might not have enough space. And we got to go through all this process all over again to now find land. So please think about it, board members, because I don't think this is the right time to make this decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Medina. Mr. Woodson.
Hello. Again, they're not listening to the superintendent. She just said that the land is ledge. You know, Mr. Garcia said the land is ledge. Ledge is rock. You're not using rock. You're not playing on rock. You're not teaching on rock. You know, I mean, like you said, if it's not doing any service to us and you could help somebody else, please, for once in your life.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. After Mr. Woodson was Miss Perez. Miss Perez. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Miss Baptiste Perez and then Miss Perez. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to return a portion of the property outside of the fence of Ska'n School back to the city of Bridgeport.
Is a motion on the floor? Any second?
Second.
Mr. Woodson seconded that. We're doing more debate. Yes. Okay, Mr. Sokolovic. I'm sorry, excuse me. No, Miss Perez. Excuse me, Miss Perez was next after Miss Baptiste Perez. Miss Perez? No? Nothing. Okay, Mr. Sokolovic.
Miss Perez is next. She was maker of the motion.
And then it's seconded, right? Right, okay. Mr.
First.
I'm sorry,
Miss Baptiste Perez, then Mr. Woodson, then the rest of us.
No, I know. Mr. Sokolovic.
No, Miss Baptiste
Mr.
Perez,
Traver next.
Mr. Woodson, then me.
Mr.
You have to
Traver.
ask, excuse me, Sahiba speaking, Madam Chair. You have to ask Christine, Madam Vice Chair, you have to ask Madam Chair and Mr. Woodson if they have anything to debate on their motion. And then it goes
I thought that they just both spoke, yes? I'm sorry, I'm missing something.
They made the motion.
She
so the motion
made the
person
motion
goes
and
first.
then
And the second.
yes, she made the motion and Andre seconded, but it wasn't, and then we went into debate. So now you take it back to Madam Chair and to
right, because she's the maker. Okay, I apologize. Right. I'm sorry. Madam Chair, Ms. Baptiste Perez.
The maker of the motion has the opportunity to discuss why they moved the motion forward first and foremost. I don't know where this whole person that seconded comes forward. After, it's up to the facilitator of the meeting to choose whether pro, con, or allow each member to speak. I have no comment as to this, but this whole new decorum of adding this person that seconds to speak, I'm not familiar with that rule, and it's completely up to you, Madam Vice Chair, as to how you like to facilitate the meeting. I have no further.
I'd be happy to forward the rules to everybody.
Returning the property.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Baptiste Perez. Mr. Woodson, any other comments, question?
No comment.
Okay. All right, Mr. Traber.
Yes, I would simply point out in response to what Mr. Woodson said, that if we can make it a parking lot for the nursing home, we can make it a parking lot for some educational purpose if we decide to use the property for an educational purpose. And that's the whole point of the comments, is until we finish our facilities review and strategic plan, we should hold on to the property. And that's why we're urging us to hold on until we finish our study at the end of the year. I don't know, Mr. Garcia, when we learned about this. Obviously, we found out this week when it was put on our agenda. So I don't know why we didn't get more opportunity to find out about it, but it was just told to us this week. And this is, what we're hearing, and so we're raising these points now on short notice. This should have come up at the facilities committee that got canceled, and it didn't. So we didn't hear it there, and now we're hearing it here. The matter is now before us. We're raising the points that we can think of on short notice, and we think it's valid to raise it with regard to the strategic study that we just all voted to approve. And so I'm urging the board to hold off until we finish our legitimate study that Mr. Garcia has fought mightily for many years. And we can make it a parking lot. We also, just because we think that we ought to hold it and wait and see whether or not we can use it for the children of the city, it doesn't mean we're opposed to the people in the facility that are using it now. We're not. And they've been there a long time, and we've been supported for a long time. The final question that I would raise is, given that we've all learned recently that Ms. Bain is sitting on a zoning committee.
Oh, I
Point of
don't
order, I
think.
can't hear Mr. Travers. I can't hear
No,
Mr.
I
Travers.
don't.
Please unmute his microphone. Whoever muted it, that's not proper behavior.
No, I think that
What's
we.
going on? Who just muted my microphone? Who's
Okay,
been muting our
wait.
microphones all night? This is outrageous.
Hey, listen.
I have
Do
raised,
not.
excuse me, Ms. Bain, you don't have the right to the floor. I have the floor.
Don't bring me into your questioning. Don't do it.
Who keeps muting the microphone?
Okay, all right. What we want to do is we want to stay on topic, guys. Can we
Who
please
keeps
just
shutting
stay
me
on
off?
the
That
Ska'n
is
Keep
on
shutting
topic.
off my.
How Ska'n came to us was through the
Point of order.
so
Can you unmute his mic so we could go on? I don't know who's doing that. Let's just go forward to this. Let
Who's
him.
doing that? Who's turning out the mic? That's not professional. Come on.
Yeah, the
don't do
mic
that.
needs to be turned on. Mr. Traver has the floor, so respectfully, somebody unmute him.
And Mr. Traver, you want to?
Do we need to do investigation? Who's doing that? Because I'm ready to make a complaint about that.
Okay, please unmute
Thank
Mr.
you. I
Traver's
now have
mic.
it back. I now
Okay,
have it
Mr.
back.
Traver,
I'm
hold
raising
on
the
a
question.
second, Mr. Traver. Hold on. I'll let you continue. Hold on. But for the board members who are not asking any more questions, please take your hand down, just so I can get an accurate count of who is next. Please take your hand down if you don't expect to ask another question. Please, it'll help me out tremendously. Mr. Traver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm simply raising a question. If Ms. Bain is sitting on a city panel, it may end up ruling on whether or not this whole process should go forward. I'm challenging whether or not she should be allowed to vote on this question. That's all. She's sitting on the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So what? Don't do that, Mr. Traver. Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that, Mr. Traver.
Hold on, Ms. Bain and Mr. Traver. Dr. Levy David, can we get the attorney in on this? Is this something we can get, or I don't know what?
Mr. Hodgson, are you available to address whatever this is?
Hi, good evening. I'm Chris Hodgson from Bertram Moses. Is the issue of whether one of the board members who sits on the ZBA be ineligible to vote?
That's correct.
It seems
Whether it
pretty
represents a conflict of interest.
it seems pretty remote to me that a lease of a parking lot by the city would be a zoning board of appeal issue. I don't see the connection. But again, a board member would have to decide if they have a conflict. It's not, they would have to look at it.
Thank you.
Okay, so then that's what the answer is, Mr. Traver. Anything else, Mr. Traver, before I move on to, I got Mr. Sakalovic, I got Ms. Perez, I got Mr. Medina. Anything else, Mr. Traver?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sakalovic.
Yes, I don't get the urgency of this item as it is in relation to Bridgeport Public School students. We just sat here and got berated by the superintendent for not putting students first. And now we're talking about cutting down hundreds of trees, possibly. I don't know how many trees are going to be cutting down in a city of Black and brown children who suffer from some of the highest rates of asthma in the city. And it's unconscionable. And to keep framing it as being good neighbors, giving it to the elderly, and that's a false narrative. This is Mosaic is a business. The business is going to give compensation to the city of Bridgeport to lease the money. The city of Bridgeport is going to withhold that money from Bridgeport Public Schools, and we
Please don't. Just let Mr. Sakalovic finish his point. Go ahead, Mr. Sakalovic.
What the heck is going on?
Listen,
Mr. Sakalovic.
whoever the corrupt individual is that keeps muting my microphone, cut it out.
Okay, Mr. Sakalovic, please go ahead and finish your point.
I got to start from the beginning again.
No, please don't start from the beginning. We heard everything.
I got cut off.
We heard everything up to the city is going to get paid to lease. Can you start from there?
So the city is going to make X amount of dollars per month. They are not going to forward that money to our children, who will be the ones suffering from probably increased asthma rates from removing trees and increasing hardscape with additional motor vehicle traffic by their school. We are here to service the children, as Dr. Levy-David so loves to say. We got to put the children first. When are we going to stop putting the children first?
Okay.
I'm still speaking. I got 10
go
minutes.
Yep.
No, I got 10 minutes. Please be respectful.
Okay.
I disrespected you.
Okay, Mrs. Sakalovic, go ahead.
And you're breaking my train of thought. Maybe that's the intention. But
no, it's not.
The city of Bridgeport, we owe them absolutely nothing for the level of funding they've given us. To paint us as bad neighbors if we do not do this is absolutely wrong. If we do this, we are poor fiduciaries for the positions which we were elected and or selected to serve, which is the children first and foremost. Our children are suffering. Again, I'm going to repeat. You can't repeat enough. Our children suffer from asthma. Our children need trees around them. There is no ill will that will be suffered by our children to be waiting until after the facility master plan is conducted. Will it inconvenience Mosaic? Quite probably. But that's not my issue. That is not our issue. That is not what we were elected to do. We were not elected, even any city official in this building, city council, state reps, we were not elected to serve at the whim of connected businesses that are for profit. We were elected to service the taxpayer in the city of Bridgeport, and many taxpayers have an issue with this, as do I, because our children may need this property. Our children definitely need those trees to breathe, and we need to put our children first. We need to at least postpone this item till after the master facilities plan is completed.
Thank you for your
and on that note, I make a motion to postpone this item until after the master facilities plan.
I second
that motion.
There is a motion on the floor to postpone this agenda item, and it was seconded. Madam Secretary, you take a roll call vote.
They have to debate it now.
Oh, it's debate. Okay. Mr. Medina. You're next.
No, I believe the motion, the person that made the motion.
I'm sorry. No, it was actually Ms. Perez that was next. I'm sorry, Mr. Medina. Ms. Perez, you have your hand up.
They have to debate their new motion.
Okay.
Yes,
the maker of the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, debate.
Yes. I believe I made all my points, but I will just reiterate just bullet points. Our children need to breathe oxygen. Our children will suffer no ill will, no ill effects by pausing this item until after the facilities plan is done. There is no negative outcome for pausing right now and taking a good look at this. We are coming, we may have to close schools. We're setting a bad precedent before giving up these properties before we're through. We set this precedent now. What's to say, as soon as we decide to close the school, to say, okay, we vote to throw the kids out on day one, and over the summer, just close the school and give it to the city and let another business move in, turn it into luxury apartments. This is a very, very bad precedent we're setting. We're giving up a right. When contract negotiations are done, If you give something up, you get something. It's called negotiation. We are receiving no benefit from giving up a right that we currently hold. And for those reasons, I think we should postpone while we explore options with our attorney on whether we can, in fact, have the city pay us a portion of what they are getting from the lease or the entirety of what they're going to be getting from the lease. Otherwise, I don't think we should give up that property without any remuneration to our students and our district.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sokolovic. Mr. Perez.
I believe I saw the study, and Mr. Garcia also said that the trees will be replanted. If students have asthma, they're going to have asthma in the building as well that they're in. So just gonna throw that out there too, where there is poor air quality in some of these buildings. And this is less than half an acre of land. Yeah, 0.43, yeah. Of land that we are not currently using. And from what Mr. Garcia said, with the utilities and the septic, I believe you said septic?
Yeah, so the parcel that they're looking to have us revoke back to them is about 10, 15 feet past our fence, and there's about a 20-foot decline down to that area. We wouldn't be able to utilize it for anything just because Mosaic is on that side of the property.
Okay, that's what I wanted to confirm. And it's about, you don't have the exact numbers, but Mr. Traber has asked about Blackham. It's about the same amount of land as Blackham, which if there is a need for a new school in the north end, we have the property on Blackham, that land there.
Yes.
So this less than half an acre really wouldn't affect too much building a new school if we did decide to drill into all that land and stuff.
We wouldn't be able to use that piece of the parcel for anything.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Ms. Bain, you're next. Ms. Bain? Okay, I'll move on to Mr. Woodson. You're next.
His hand's not even up.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, it is up. Go ahead, Mr. Woodson.
Question for Mr. Garcia. Is that isn't that school being moved?
Yes, that's part of the renovation and addition to the new Winthrop.
So when the school is not there anymore, doesn't the land and the school go back to the city?
Yes, we revert the building and the land back to the city once we're done with our usage.
So we don't ever get paid. Do we get paid when anything from Hardin or any school that ever was moved?
No, because the city owns the facilities.
Oh, okay, thank you. I think they're just being anti-Semitic.
Oh. All right, Miss Baptiste Perez. You're next.
Point of order.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to turn off my mic while I just heard that comment. Yeah, I agree with the comment from Mr. Woodson that
he's making accusations.
Right now, I have the floor, please.
I made a point of order.
A point of order has the floor. A point of order has the floor.
All right.
Everybody stop. Everybody stop.
Mr. Woodson,
all right, everybody stop. Let me just get some clarity. Mr. Hodgson, Chris.
All right, there's been a point of order made, and I would also like to just ask the members to just stick to the issue at hand and move on. But the point of order has to be addressed.
Point of order was, I'm sorry, can we repeat the point of order?
The point of order was Mr. Woodson was engaging in personalities, and I demand his words be taken down. He's accused this board of being anti-Semitic. And
no, the answer is no. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to vote on that?
No.
The answer is no. No.
I appeal the chair's ruling.
Okay, Chris, now what happens?
Okay, so you would have a vote to uphold the ruling of the chair by voting yes, or to vote against the ruling of the chair, to vote no.
Appeal is also, correct me if I'm wrong, attorney, I forgot your name, I'm sorry. But an appeal is debatable, correct? One turn per person.
You know, I don't know that it is debatable when there's another motion on the floor.
It is debatable, sir. We've been through this before. Can you take a moment and get this?
We're gonna go to Mr. Hodson's.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
That was after my point of order, Madam Chair.
After my point of order. The request is to strike a comment from the board member, but yet I've heard several times several derogatory, demeaning comments from board members regarding other board members, as well as threats to their livelihoods in prior meetings. And the fact that what felt like or could be interpreted as anti-Semitic conduct now wants to be struck from the record. This is live on YouTube. It's already on the record. And therefore, we've never stricken live testimony as to items or opinions. So I don't understand why this would be a precedent. I vividly recall in January when I pointed to the audio record of Mr. Sokolovic saying that our magnet schools were for white children. He had a vivid issue with it, although that's on YouTube and that's on the record. So I don't see why we're going to strike a board member's comment regarding returning property and his speech. That's never been done before. That has a chilling impact. So all I have to do is say point of order based off of what someone else has said. I don't even think this is proper to go through with an appeal process. It is a statement of opinions.
Well, the chair ruled, if I could intervene, the chair ruled that the item would not be stricken. Mr. Skolovic then asked to appeal the ruling of the chair, and now that can be debated and then voted on.
Thank you, sir. Can we now open up to debates?
We're in debate.
And as the maker of the appeal, I find these words very disrespectful. We've debated these before. Mr. Woodson has accused everybody of being an anti-Semite. Can I accuse everybody here of being anti-Black, anti-Brown, because we're giving schools to wealthy white businesses over our Black and Brown children? That we're going to cut down trees? Would that be proper? No, that would not be proper, and I'd be the first one to call myself out for saying something so ridiculously stupid and disrespectful about my fellow board members. I've been the most accused of being racist on this board, and I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of having to explain to my brown son that his daddy is not a racist, that people are just using it to deflect from the inadequacies and the ineptitude.
But didn't you just say white businesses?
Excuse me, ma'am, I have the floor. You are the superintendent, an employee, and not a member of this board, and you need to be recognized to speak.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I don't agree with Mr. Sokolovic saying that the comment from Mr. Woodson was stupid or ridiculous. I think it was a valid description of anti-Semitic behavior.
Okay, we could discuss that one after. If she upholds it, fine. And I'll strike it. And now I yield the floor to debate. I made my points. And please, in the future, also got a point of order for the superintendent speaking out of turn and not being recognized by the chair. I wish you would behave in a more professional manner. Thank you.
Any more debate on this?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Mr. Traber.
Ms. Baptiste Perez forgets the remarks that she's.
Point of order, Mr.
You've been muted again.
Mr.
Hold on.
Traber's
You've been muted again.
By a corrupt individual. Please stop.
Mr. Traber.
I think that was my fault. I'm not.
I apologize.
That was his fault.
I will. That I said was my fault. I have said when I was muted.
He just called somebody a corrupt individual.
Pardon me?
All right, one at a time. Mr. Traber has the floor.
Miss Bain has a habit of interrupting anytime she wants without being called on by the
Mr.
chair.
Traber, I can you please
Well, I
make
would
your
like to not be
point?
interrupted by Miss Bain.
Can you, okay, go, Mr.
So the
Traber,
chair
Mr.
has
Traber?
had a double standard here, Miss Casimir. I called the point of order after
Okay,
Mr.
what is
No,
your debate
that's my
item
point
though?
of
Like,
order.
what is
That's
that?
my point here. You're exercising a double standard in this debate.
No,
And
I don't
called
think
for a
so.
point
I
of
just
order.
want you to
I
get
called
to
for
the
a point of
point.
order after Mr. Sakalovic, and you let Miss.
Okay,
You've now let
okay.
Miss Baptiste Perez
Mr.
go
Traber,
twice.
Miss
You've let her go
Bain,
twice. So
please
in
Well,
regard
don't
to this
come on to the
exercise
call. Mr. Traber has the floor. Mr. Traber.
on this debate, Miss Baptiste Perez conveniently remembers things that she forgets to say when she's the chair about people and their families in these debates. And we need to stop that. We can be aggressive in our debates without using name calling.
How is this related to Mr. Sokolovic's appeal?
About what we allowed to be said on the floor. And we saw
No,
a very,
his appeal is
excuse me,
regarding that his
doesn't have
comment
the
was
floor, Madam Chair.
anti-Semitic.
Point of order, the chair.
She
not
does not have the
recognized to
floor, and
speak.
you're not stopping her.
Miss
Okay,
Casimir,
Madam Chair.
the
Madam
speaker would
Chair.
have to be recognized.
Okay.
So if
Mr. Traber.
Remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We saw a very poignant national case of this in Congress about a month and a half, 2 months ago, where this sort of outrageous name calling should be shut down. And that sort of name calling went above and beyond from Mr. Woodson. We don't need to make that kind of remark, and it should have stopped, and it should have been not done. And that's the only thing that needs to happen. Is it on the video? Yes. We need to show as a board that we're not going to tolerate that kind of name calling. And that's really what Mr. Sokolovic is looking for. And the chair should rule that it should be stricken. And he
Any
should
other
apologize.
debate?
And he should apologize. Thank you.
Any other debate on it? Miss Bain, you're next.
Thank you so very much. Okay, so first I want to go back to the fact that, no, this is about the debate for Mr. Sokolovic saying have the word anti-Semitic stricken from the record, right? That's what we're talking about? I just want to
The vote is to uphold the ruling of the chair or not.
Yes.
It's an appeal. That is the motion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but I thought we was in debate on that. Are we not?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't, I've been on this board since January, and I've heard a lot of name callings, from everyone on this board. People throwing people names and stuff that doesn't have anything to do with them and minding other people's business. People throwing stuff, saying stuff about people indirectly, calling name calls, cat calls, right? There was times that I've sat on video watching, the background of a live meeting happen and I heard people just say things that was out of line. Yes, maybe, and Andre Woodson, board member Woodson, could have used a different term, but that's how he's feeling. Just like when you guys said what you said, that's how you were feeling. So I don't think it should be stricken because it was offensive to you by hearing it and it hurt your ears. But if you say let everybody be who themselves, that's what Mr. Woodson was feeling. When people berate and come after Dr. Levy David, when berate and come after Christine, berate and come after me, berate and come after anybody else that's on this board, it stays. So I don't think it should be stricken. And I think that, as us as adults should understand, we have the right to speak what we want to speak. If you got offended, I'm sorry that you got offended, but I don't think it should be stricken.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna keep my hand up because I have something else to say. But I think, okay, we've been on this call. We've been on this. We've been doing this since 7:30.
Yeah.
It is now 10:05.
It's 10:05.
Right. I think that if there's I don't know how many more items are on the agenda because I just came back into my home. However, if this is going to be going on like this, where he say, she said, oh, I did this in point of order, and no, I don't like what you said, I would ask that we consider, Madam Chair, postponing to another date, because this is people do have to go to work in the morning.
I totally agree.
Right? And
Yeah.
that's all.
Second. I'll second the motion to postpone.
No.
There's no motion on the floor.
I didn't make a motion. I said
No.
You said consider it.
I didn't make
And
a
there is a
motion.
motion to postpone
I did
on
not
the
make
floor
a motion.
anyway.
I said to Madam Chair, she should consider. That's what I said. I
Right.
did not make a motion. Please listen to my words. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and point of order to clarify point of information. The originating motion that started this discussion was a motion to postpone.
Well, that motion to postpone was for the matter concerning the returning a portion of the property.
Right.
Have to come back to. Maybe we could work on the vote to uphold the ruling of the chair and dispose of that. And then we can come back to what our business is, which was the
please.
returning a property.
Yes. So upholding the vote of the chair, Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
You're on mute, Ms. Perez.
You're on mute, Ms. Perez. Thank you.
I clicked the wrong button. Sorry. Christine Baptiste Perez.
I support the decision of the chair of keeping Mr. Woodson's opinion that Mr. Sokolowitz's comment was anti-Semitic.
Tahiba Bain.
I uphold the chair's decision to keep the comment.
Albert Banahan.
Pass.
I'm trying to look at the name. Sorry. Willie Medina.
I say no. I mean, I think it would be beneficial to keep that out of the record probably for himself also, but that's between him and everybody else. So
Andre Woodson.
I vote to keep it.
Robert Traber.
I say no, and I would ask whoever's controlling the power to turn my camera back on. I've been shut down again on the camera.
Joseph Sokolovic.
No.
Albert Banahan.
No.
Who'd I miss? Me. Whew. I'm gonna go with yes, because it's on YouTube anyways. If we strike it from the record, it's gonna still be out there.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I was next on a point of order. Can somebody turn my camera back on?
they're probably trying to censor
I don't
you
know.
right
I
now
don't know
still.
what's going on with it. Go ahead, Mr. Traber. We can hear you. Go ahead.
No. That's all I want. At this point, that's all I want right now.
Okay. Who is
Just
next,
don't know
Ms.
who
Perez?
keeps turning us off.
Ms. Perez, who's next?
We're
That
done.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the result of that vote?
It carries.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Now we're on the postpone.
Thank you.
And we're on debate.
Postpone of the property, item number 6.
And that was to postpone a vote on returning a portion of the property outside of the fence until after the facilities plan is done.
And I have a point of order.
Casimir, Dr. Camilla Levy-David have her hands up.
Yes, Doctor. I'm sorry, Dr. Levy David. I didn't see you. Go ahead, please.
I have been sitting here listening to individuals stating that their mics are being cut off and their cameras are being cut off. I do recommend a session with IT regarding proper use of equipment, because spreading the narrative that people are shutting you down is not productive. These meetings are taking up everybody's time. You know, there are people that have to work in the morning, people that
I
are
feel bad for the staff. Yeah.
And if you're pushing buttons and muting yourself and taking yourself off camera and then, saying that somebody's doing it, I really need that to stop. I mean, that this Everybody has control of their
Point
equipment.
of order, Madam Chair.
Please
Point of
control
order.
your
I don't
equipment.
need to listen
Who
to
is
this
interrupting me?
Dr. Levy David has the floor.
Who is interrupting me?
Dr. Levy David has the
I'm
floor.
Who is interrupting me right
I am not
now?
pushing a button. My hands aren't
Doctor,
anywhere near
okay,
the
Who is
computer.
interrupting me?
Yeah, you can
have
see
a
it.
point
It
of
shows
order.
it in
That
the
means
screen.
I
It's
get to
blocked.
speak. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't know what
Mr.
you're seeing on the screen. I don't know who is doing it. Everybody else is
Or
participating.
open your eyes. You can see it. It's on the screen.
Mr.
It's a
Medina.
point of
This is a
order,
point of order,
attorney.
point of
Where-
order, point of order.
Yes.
This,
Yes,
see,
Ms. Bain.
You know, okay, so.
Miss Bain doesn't get to go before me. I raised a point of order before her.
Oh, Jesus. Go ahead, boy. Go ahead,
Oh,
baby.
Jesus,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
Miss
Go ahead.
Bain.
Point of order.
We can
Mr.
stop
Draper. Go
swearing
ahead.
on the screen, too.
What did she say?
You know, I said shit because you guys are full of it. That's what I said.
Miss
Excuse me for
Bain.
that. I do apologize.
No, the kids.
I do apologize. I'm just like so tired because of the simple fact that he's whining because he called the point of order first. Willie Medina is over there talking about, you know, being very disrespectful to the superintendent, talking about open up your eyes. This is ridiculous. My word, my little bit of word is nothing compared to what they're seeing and hearing every day coming out of you guys' mouth towards each other, towards everyone else. How dare you be disrespectful to this woman, to this doctor? How dare you? That is so uncalled for. You're talking about, I said, I said that word, forgive me. Yes, I did. But I'm quite sure the children that we represent say much better words than I do. However, that does not make it right. And I do apologize. But we, Medina, Willie Medina, and Robert Traber, we really need to get a grip on our lives right now. You're crying because I said a point of order after you. She's trying to make
every time we raise a point, and every time
you're absolutely correct.
Every time
Willie
we
Medina,
raise a
you
point
have
of order,
Okay. All right, guys. What can we do? Okay, Mr. Hodgson, what can we do to move forward? What's the next step that we need to move?
First of all,
okay.
I would ask everyone, please do not speak until you're recognized by the vice chair. It's the only way we can run the meeting. And second, I would just ask, I have no idea what's happening to Mr. Trader's camera, but could we get to the motion to postpone the vote?
Mr. Hodgson, I call for a point of order. I get the floor, don't I?
I think you've made your point.
No, I haven't made the point of what I'm calling for.
To postpone the matter.
I haven't made the point.
Point of
I'm
order
calling a point
interrupts
of
all
order for.
business pending.
And I think the use of the point of order is really it's just getting overused. Okay, let's just get to business. You guys have been so good all night until now.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to make my point of order yet, attorney.
I believe your point was you are not changing your camera yourself.
Right.
No. I heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
That it is that the chair is allowing other people to speak on a point of order when somebody else has called for a point of order beforehand and is not recognizing the person that calls for a point of order.
Okay, Mr. Traver.
He's agreed with. That is
so
the
many
point
points
of
order now. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's becoming a blur. There's so much going on. Mr. Traver.
And try to deal with that.
Yeah.
You're trying to deal with what now, Mr. Hodgson?
I believe that there was a motion to postpone this matter until after the facilities plan is done, which was postponing the return of a portion of the property outside the fence of Ska'n School. There was a motion and a second. And if you finish debate, you could actually call for a vote.
Right. Yes, and the original point of order that I tried to call for in this whole thing was that when the previous question was called on the previous issue, this chair established that she was going to let the seconder of the motion speak on the issue after the maker of the motion. And I was the seconder of this motion, and she decided to change practice here. And I didn't.
I had made a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make the seconder of the motion because we already got clarity that I don't have to do that.
I tried to speak, I was cut off.
Okay. Can you please make your point, please?
This is your opportunity, Mr. Trader.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Motion.
I would like to speak against this in the sense that this doesn't need to be decided tonight. And so we can put this off. All the other things that we're moving on, the one other item we have left needs to be decided tonight because it's conditional on the fiscal year. And so I would ask that we hold this motion because it can be dealt with later. And it should be dealt with later when we have a chance to look at the other issues that have been raised tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Ms. Casimir. Very clear, I'm going to say, I know Dr. Camilla Levy-David upset about the cameras and the video. If you see in the top, and very obviously, if you will not want to speak, you have a line in the top of the mic. They're going to block your mic and your camera. You have a 0 in a line. That means somebody's blocking. Somebody's blocking the cameras, and then you need to do investigation. I'm going to make a complaint about this because this is not fair. This is unprofessional. They have to block us. We are board members for Bridgeport Public School. They shut our mouth. Like it or not, we have to listen to each other. And that's it, period. I just want to say that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. I agree with Mr. Benahan. I'm sorry. Again, if this is a technical issue, IT, please look into it. But no, we need to make sure that this camera issue or this and the microphone issue is fixed. Ms. Perez, do you have something else? Your hand's still up.
Not anymore. Just do the roll call.
Roll call vote. Let's do it.
This is the roll call.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the motion? I'm sorry, Ms.
It's
Perez.
roll call to postpone item number 6 to a later date. Ms. Casimir.
Chris, can I ask one more question before I vote, or no? Is it over? Is the debate over? I'm sorry. I need help with that.
You can ask a question.
Okay. This property, Mr. Who did this? Mr. Garcia, are you still on the line? I hope not. Okay. I was just wondering if it's something that is immediate. Oh, yeah, Mr. Garcia. Is this, yes. If we don't vote on this tonight, Mr. Garcia, just give me your candid opinion. If we don't vote on this tonight, is there some type of emergency situation that will be detrimental to the children of this district? That's my question.
I'm not sure how to answer that question. Once
Dr.
again,
Levy.
it's one of those situations where the portion of that parcel is unusable to us.
Okay. Dr. Levy-David, I want to give you an opportunity. What is the worst that could happen if we postpone this into the new school year? Please, I need to know.
I don't think that there is any suffering that will come upon our children if we postpone this. But I do think that as a district that continuously struggles with resources and all of the things that we manage from day to day, we're constantly asking all sorts of agencies, collaborators, businesses for assistance. We very seldom get asked for anything. This is the one time that any agency or entity has come to ask for our assistance to support an organization that works with the elderly in this community. And they've asked for us to provide them with a parcel of land that has no educational impact to our students in order for them to be able to accommodate parking, which becomes a safety issue for the elderly in that community. And to me, that does not mean that we get to table this item indefinitely or until we conduct a facility study. The facility study is only being entertained because people were opposed to my proposal to close 6 schools. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be having that. So I just think that we come up with excuses and reasons to do things when it's convenient. It's never consistent and it never makes any sense unless it's for the personal purposes of whomever is complaining about it. So I think that if,
all right, no, Mr. Sokolovic,
I don't interrupt
she's answering my question. Mr.
I don't interrupt you.
I got a point of
She's
information.
answering my
I don't
question.
interrupt you.
Mr. Sokolovic, you'd have to be recognized by the chair.
No, you are not. No, you are not. Thank you very much, Dr. Levy-David, for answering that question. My vote is to not table this until the next meeting. Madam Secretary, you can continue.
Mr. Benahan.
I'm going to pass for now.
Ms. Baptiste Perez.
My vote is not to table this until the facilities master plan. It's asinine to keep property that's not serving our children, not being used in any capacity that serves children just because. And it's also asinine because Ska'n will become part of New Winthrop School. So it's just asinine to postpone it. Thank you.
Ms. Bain.
Yes, I think we should not postpone it, not because
You have to say yes to postpone or no to postpone.
no, we don't. I don't want to postpone it. I think it should be utilized for if it could be utilized for another purpose, then I think it should. If we weren't utilizing it up until now, then I don't think what's the purpose of us holding on to it if someone else can really utilize that parcel of land. And I don't think the words asinine should be used in describing the reasons why, because that is uncalled for. Thank you.
Medina, Mr. Medina.
Yes, Mr. Garcia, I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Foreseeing if we needed the space to build another school for adult education, for whatever we see fit, and we need that land for educational purchase, what would happen if we give this land, but we need parking for that building and we need, the space? But when we give this up, are we able to get this land back?
We will not, but we still, if we build a building there, we still will not be able to use that parcel. The parcel drops off 20 feet. The parcel that's on grade with the parking lot of that building, it is not on grade for us. There's a severe drop off. So there's no way for us to utilize that parcel for anything because it's abutting to the building behind us and there's a drop off. And remember, there's ledge. I mean, there's nothing we could do with that parcel. That's why we came up with the recommendation that we felt comfortable giving that up. We did an exhaustive amount of analysis looking at it to make sure that we gave you guys the best recommendation that we can.
So if we can't build anything on it, but if we build something in that property and we needed to have, because I built other things before, we needed to have greenage, meaning plants and trees, because of the property that we are building there, wouldn't that section be considered, again, land that we have trees on that will be, as far as zoning is concerned or anybody building concerned, that can be included into the property as green land?
So currently, I think with the new design, you're going to end up with more trees than there are in that area right now. It's all brush.
But there is green land that can be used under, whatever zoning laws that we can, it could be considered as that part of the contract to have a certain part of the property to be, green.
I hear what you're saying, but I think,
yeah, he understands everything,
Mr.
Mr. Medina.
Zoning or doesn't know about. I want to make sure they understand what I'm referring to.
Yeah, everybody understands exactly what you mean. Can you give us your vote, Mr. Medina?
Maybe if I can talk.
You've been talking, but you're asking the same question over and over again. You're just asking in a different way.
Sorry.
You're asking the same question over and over again. Can we get your vote? We're voting now. Please.
I vote no.
Okay, great. Next one, Ms. Perez.
Mr. Traber.
Just for the record, my camera still has that little circle with the cross line that Albert referred to.
Okay, your vote, Mr. Traber, please.
No, I want to ask a question too. You started this.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. Your question, Mr. Traber.
Yes, I'm. If you would stop interrupting.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So
yes,
the point that Mr. Medina makes is that with the plans that we are talking about for a special ed school up at in the North End, we're not going to be able to handle all the children we have for special ed. With the plans we have for Dunbar being an adult ed, we're not going to be able to handle all the adult ed we envision. So we have lots of possibilities we could use that space for. And by giving it up, I know, Mr. Garcia, we've talked about how you had some ideas for how we could use the old Harding School. And that's gone because we gave up that piece of land. So by giving up this piece of land, there's the possibility that there's something we could do with this land as we get down with the facilities review that we haven't thought through yet. So I'm voting no, because there are possibilities that we could do something with this land that we're not thinking of right now. And that's too bad that we're going to do that.
Okay, Mr. Traber, thank you. Ms. Perez, anybody else next? Who's next to vote?
Mr. Woodson.
Mr. Woodson.
Yes, because there's, well, no, I'm voting no, right?
No to postpone?
Yes, no to postpone, because there's 7 other acres that they could build on if they need to build something.
Mr. Benahan. I'll come back. I'll vote no to postpone because Mr. Garcia made the points very clear that we're going to add more trees. We can't use a 20-foot drop off. It's not on grade. He made all the points that have been asked. So I'm voting yes, no to postpone.
I believe Mr. Benahan
is back. He's back, yeah. You had passed, Mr. Benahan, so your turn.
My votes are gonna be, I'm very clear for this. And give me 1 second, Ms. Casimir, 30 seconds. I want to vote no for not postpone, and for the reason it's not fair. Our staff's still here. We'll look at what time it is. 10:30. I'm not gonna have another meeting. I need to do things. I have a human. We all go. We don't get paid for us, the board members. Others get paid. You know, it's not fair. We have to keep forward. I want this thing to have done now. And also, our lawyer is keep charging very good.
Right.
So
that's
let's
right.
keep forward,
Yeah.
and let's have to take care of staff too. They need.
Yes, we got one more thing.
And let's keep forward, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Don't. The motion to postpone fails.
I'm
So we're
waiting
not
for, I have not voted yet, Ms. Perez.
Oh, I had you, but go ahead.
No,
No, actually, I did not have you. I'm on the wrong list. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, no worries. Yes, I vote yes to postpone for the simple reason that we do have a facilities master plan that has been engaged and embraced, not to pay back anybody for their plan to close schools, but because it's legally required by our policies and bylaws, which nobody is above, and we have to follow with fidelity. Let's follow our policies and bylaws with fidelity, which is required in closing the schools. A facility study is required by our bylaws. Thank you.
What's the result? Is that everybody?
7 voted no to postpone.
7 voted no to postpone.
6 voted no to postpone. Sorry, 6.
6 voted
no.
no.
We're on the main motion now.
So now we're on the main motion that was to approve the approval of returning a portion of property outside of the fence of Ska'n School back to the city. Are we on debate or do we take a vote? I'm sorry.
I think we've debated it.
Take a vote. Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure we didn't finish debating. Not
Yeah.
everybody got to speak
No,
twice on the issue,
we
and
did
it was
finish
interrupted
debating, I thought.
It was interrupted by my motion to postpone, which was dealt with and discussed. And now we're back to the main motion, which has, I don't believe everybody had 2 chances to speak yet. I don't think some people spoke once on the main motion. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody.
You're right.
I spoke once to it.
It's time to vote. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Perez.
It's not time to vote because not everybody.
We have another agenda item, and these people need to go home.
If you're gonna make a motion to
the
call
staff
question,
needs to go
Miss-
home,
Miss
though. Like,
Casimir,
come on.
Ms. Casimir, I will say that just let's get the debate over with because that is
okay. Let's get please, for God's sake.
There's two hands.
Let's get the debate over with. Debate. Who's first? Joe. Tahiba. Okay, I have Joe first. It's Mr. Sokolovic first, Ms. Bain second, and then Mr. Traber. Mr. Sokolovic.
I spoke once already, so it should go to everybody else before I get to speak.
Oh God. Okay. Miss.
Please stop using the
Miss Bain, please. Ms. Bain, any?
Yeah, no, I don't need to speak. We need to let the child speak. All right.
Okay. Who's next? Mr. Traber.
Yeah, I would offer 2 quick points. I would disagree with the superintendent's notion that we owe the city anything. The city has been shortchanging the children of Bridgeport for decades. And there's no time to, this is not based on any debt to the city. If we were looking at it that way, they owe us thousands of times more over than what this little piece of land. And 2, I think that there are lots of ideas being bandied about, as I mentioned a moment ago, with regard to uses of schools for the children, for adult ed, for special ed, that we are yet to begin to finalize, and we shouldn't be giving up property. As I said a moment ago, Mr. Garcia and I talked at one point this past year about things we could have done with the old Harding property. Mr. Woodson raised the idea of once we give up property that goes back to the city, we don't get anything out of it, and we didn't, and it was in fact a disgrace what happened to the old Harding. But if we don't give it up yet, we may have a use for it. Mr. Garcia had some ideas of what we could have done with the old Harding property, and it was in hindsight because at that point the city had already taken it and was planning on using it for some other purpose. And it was too late for us to take it back and say, okay, we had another idea of how we could have used it. It's unfortunate. So I think it would be better for us to hold on to the property so that we can, if we come up with an idea as we do this facilities review, have that option for the children of our city and for the constituents that we serve in adult ed, as well as the children. So I would argue that we shouldn't give it up.
Thank you, Mr. Medina.
Yes, to his point, for lack of a better word, insanity. I mean, we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. We're expecting different results. We have it playing right now, working a thing. The only one that's going to be inconvenienced, and I want every single one of you to hear this clearly, even the executive team and especially the superintendent, the only one that's being inconvenienced or will be inconvenienced through this process right now will be our kids, our schools. Okay? So just want to put that out there. The only one that's going to be inconvenienced. It's not the Mosaic. It's not the city. The only one that's going to be inconvenienced by this at this very moment, and I'm talking about this very second, is the children, the school, that property, because of this, what's happening right now. So remember this in hindsight moving forward, because it's you guys doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Let's wait. There's no inconvenience to anybody by waiting and doing the right thing to finish the plan that we have. We're heading in the right direction, but all of a sudden we want to, swing right real quick. Woe to you guys. Thank you very much. I yield.
Yeah, mute.
Whose turn is?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was on mute. Mr. Woodson is next. Mr. Woodson.
I just want to state that, even if the property was ours and we kept it, we would have never agreed to spend money to do anything with any school because we can't agree on anything.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. Any more debate?
My second time, I was waiting till everybody went to.
Go ahead, Mr. Sokolovic, please. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My final comment is this is no rush. It's like 2 or 3 months or 4 months till this master facilities plan is done. We did not rush through the budget, and we passed it the day after the mayoral election. We allowed the mayor to steal an election, and now we're letting the city steal property from our children and knock down a bunch of trees. That's going to impact their asthma. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Time to come to a vote. We do a roll call vote. Ms. Perez, please.
This roll call vote is on the approval of returning a portion of property outside of the fence of Ska'n School back to the city of Bridgeport. Mr. Sokolovic.
Absolutely not. This is a theft of our resources without.
Ms. Casimir.
I got a right to speak on my motion. You interrupted me, Ms. Perez.
Yeah, you just.
I vote no because this is a land grant from the city of Bridgeport. The city of Bridgeport is going to receive thousands and thousands of dollars, and our children do not get to enjoy any of that largesse.
Okay, thank you. Next, Ms. Perez. I'm sorry, who's next? Is it me?
Yeah.
I vote yes. Turn the property over.
Mr. Benahan. Mr. Benahan. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I apologize for that. Yeah, I vote to return a portion of the property back to the city.
Ms. Bain.
Yes.
Mr. Medina.
No, once again, we need to make a conscious decision. So I say no.
Mr. Traber.
I vote no. I, for the record, point out my camera still has the little circle with a line through it.
We see. Mr. Woodson.
Yes, equity for everybody.
Mr. Benahan. And I vote yes. So 5-3 and 1 no vote.
Okay, motion passes. This a property will be turned back over to the city. Our very last item on the agenda tonight is discussion and possible approval of continuation of agreement with Effective School Solutions. Dr. Levy David, who is presenting on that?
I'll take the lead.
Dr. Avery will be presenting.
Dr. Avery. Good evening, everyone. For the last agenda item, I do have Effective School Solutions, Duncan Young and his staff still online waiting for the final agenda item. And I want him to give us like a quick overview of the services that they've provided our children and our staff in the district for the last 3 years. This is a continuation of services. We're just really trying to kind of get this through. And Nadira Clark's going to talk a little bit about the funding source that we're going to use to continue the services. So again, I know for me, as in my 9 months working in the district, they've been tremendous working with staff and students. We've seen some great results from the work, and they have plans, or I have plans to utilizing their services to help us to kind of recraft our specialized services in the district. So Duncan, if you don't mind, you can introduce you and your staff and give a quick overview. Also, board members, we provided you with a quick overview of the services, the results, statement of work, of what they're going to continue to do for us in the district. You should have all that information was posted in the portal last night. You should have an opportunity to view it. We tried to simplify it for you. And I think one of the things that I'm going to be recommending to the staff, is to provide this quick overview for you, so you don't have to be in the weeds of everything detail-wise that we're going to present to you. Trying to make it a little bit more, so we can expedite these types of meetings and getting the information to you prior to the decision that's needing to be made again. So Duncan, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Dr. Avery. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Yes. Excellent. So I'm Duncan Young. I'm the CEO of Effective School Solutions. I recognize many of you from when we presented to the board 3 years ago. So nice to see all of you Again, those of you who were here at that time, I want to introduce Jessica Gaffney, who is our local project director, who has worked in the district in Bridgeport for the last 3 years, and Lisa Siapi, who is our head of clinical programming for our entire organization. It's been a real privilege for us to support Bridgeport Public Schools over the past 3 years. We are at the end of a 3-year contract to provide high acuity school-based programming to students with severe mental health, emotional, and behavioral challenges. So our services are a tier 3 level of service. So this is generally the 3 to 5% of students in a school setting that have the most intensive challenges, and we generally operate as the highest level of care available to students in the school setting. Our model is a wraparound model. That means students are receiving multiple therapeutic touch points per week and sometimes per day. That would include a combination of group therapy, individual therapy. There's a strong family therapeutic outreach component. Parental and caregiver involvement is a very important and critical piece of what we do. Our footprint in the district, we have a 14-person staff. Jessica leads that team. We have 13 licensed mental health clinicians with high acuity training that are working across 7 schools: Waltersville, Barnum, Marin, Clater, Curial, Dunbar, Harding, and Bassick. Data is a very important piece of what we do. We regularly report back on our results to district and building leaders. I'll share a couple of data highlights. From a mental health improvement standpoint, students participating in programming showed a 54% reduction in the proportion of students reporting moderate or severe anxiety. From an academic standpoint, 69% of students entering the program with a GPA of less than 2 showed at least a half letter grade improvement. From an attendance standpoint, 73% of students entering programming in a state of chronic absenteeism showed an improvement of at least 3 absences per marking period. And from a discipline standpoint, 70% of students entering programming with disciplinary challenges showed a significant decline in those challenges. Jessica, could I ask you to take a minute or so and just speak a little bit about the relationships that we built at the building level and anything else you'd like to share about the work on the ground?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. So I'm the project director. I spend my week in Bridgeport visiting the different schools, working with the principals, social workers, counselors, along with the clinicians that I supervise. Of the 13 licensed clinicians, 8 of them are bilingual in Spanish, which has been a huge asset. So we're called upon for many things, not just what we deliver through ESS. We're helping secretaries and teachers and, doing translation services. We're really connected with the schools. We provide, in addition to the services to the students that Duncan talked about, we do classroom observations. We work with teachers and provide feedback on how to interact with the students who have behavioral challenges. I have clinicians that have sat in classrooms and made recommendations for classroom management, working with first-year teachers. And we've even had, some of our staff recognized as staff of the month in the school, even though they're not Bridgeport school employees, they're ESS employees. We like to think of ourselves as part of the school and the fabric of the schools.
Thanks, Jessica. Our work together consists of 3 parts, and the continuation of the work consists of 3 parts. There's the direct therapeutic clinical work. That's the 14-person team that we referenced. There's a professional development portion to our work. We have a separate portion of our organization that does group-based professional development, side-by-side coaching with educators on identification of mental health warning signs, de-escalation of challenging student behaviors in the classroom. This contract includes 30 hours of group-based professional development, 100 hours of side-by-side coaching, and 12 hours of parental outreach. So webinars, events that we would schedule over the course of the year to focus on mental health literacy. And then finally, there's a consultation piece of this. As Dr. Avery mentioned, we're really excited to continue to advise the district on just ways to strengthen the mental health continuum and to help improve many of the great programs that you have in place in the district. I'll just wrap up with a quick quote from an end-of-year survey that we did with our educator partners in the buildings this year. The quote goes as follows: "I've been teaching for 8 years and the ESS program has been such a great addition to our school. Some students need a safe place to talk to a trusted adult, and ESS provides that to our students with the highest need. Before this program was put in place, these students never received the individualized support they needed to make it through the school day. The clinicians keep us in the know and make it possible for us to triage a problem or concern we see with the students that they work with. Many of these students would never have the chance to receive such intensive clinical services. ESS makes it possible to provide these needed services in-house to our students and their families. So again, it's been a real honor for us to work with the district. We hope to continue the work, and we thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Questions? First, Mr. Medina, and then Ms. Perez. Mr. Medina?
Yeah, I just personally, on a personal note, would like to say thank you for the services that you have provided so far. I personally say it personally because I've had my niece to have some intervention, and you guys, through your staffing and through your training with the teachers and those individuals, have been instrumental to making sure that she stays on track, and also to move along and be challenged to grow. So I know, with her conditions and everything, that some of the staff has said, if it wasn't for the training that they've had and those correspondence, it would have probably been a different case. So I would like you guys to know personally that I commend that work, and also that probably her life is here because of the work that you guys done. So I just want you guys to personally get that from me directly, because I know. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because I know where this comes from. So again, just want to say thank you, because I know the staff and the students have been covered. You guys have been a great covering. So I just want to say thank you, and that I definitely support this. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Medina. I'm so glad she's doing well, and thank you for sharing. I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair.
No, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Young.
I was just saying, I'm so glad to hear she's doing well, and thank you for that comment. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Ms. Perez and then Ms. Baptiste Perez.
I move to approve the continuation of agreement with Effective School Solutions.
I second.
Moved by Ms. Perez, second by Ms. Baptiste Perez, and now we are in debate.
I have no discussion.
No discussion from Ms. Perez. In debate, Mr. Sakalovic.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, first of all, I've heard nothing but great things about this program. I thank you very much for all you do for our students. It's a very beneficial business relationship that it's very, very good for our children. And these are the kinds of programs that we should be bringing in and we should be investing in. And I could only hope that this relationship could continue in the next fiscal year with funding that comes along, because as you know, we're facing a fiscal cliff coming up, and if we don't find money to replace the dollars that we're paying with now, it's going to be a hard time to get back a lot of these services, and we're going to have to pick and choose between what we keep, and it's going to be some hard choices that I'm not looking forward to. But just know that I've been very impressed. Several staff members have reached out and told me the program is good, and I'm definitely going to support this. And while I have the floor, I would like to touch on something Dr. Avery said. I do like the overview. The overview is awesome, but I also need to see the weeds. Yeah, we definitely need to have the weeds available, because the weeds are where rats hide. Not for this particular program, but the weeds are where you find the problems. So if you could continue to provide both, that would be great. Thank you.
You made it.
You muted again, Ms. Cashmere.
I'm sorry. Seeing that there are no other hands up, we'll take a vote. All in favor of? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Perez has made a motion to adjourn. Ms. Baptiste Perez has made a second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any
Aye.
abstentions? Thank you, everybody. Have a great summer. Thank you,
too.
everybody, for hanging in there with
you.
us. Bye-bye.
God bless you all. Thank you all the staff.
Thank you.